subscribe, like the video, and, if possible, join Patreon. But if you don't have much money, you can support the channel by watching the novels on euroaudiobooks.com. Remember that you can participate in the polls so that your favorite novel gets published for free.
Swings out his staff and sword. Paper arts. Between the electric light and flint, Shadow Mage is as thin as paper flying in the wind. In an incredible way, he dodged Brook's swift blow. Faced the blast. 36 tornadoes at the same time. The Black Shadow's momentum suddenly became fierce. The extremely sharp shadow knife traced a rapid trajectory. Sweep out. Woo-hoo-hoo. A violent gust of wind, accompanied by an astonishing wind blade, struck suddenly. What? Brook's pupils dilated as he just regained his balance and was unable to dodge. The whole person was directly pressed by the strong wind and flew out. The clothes all over his body were torn apart by countless wind blades. Tattered. Wait, I give up. In the blink of an eye, he fell to the ground hard. Brook was in ragged clothes and in a state of disarray, dripping with cold sweat. He decisively admitted defeat, as expected of Lord William. Looking at the shadow returning to William's feet, Brook wiped his cold sweat and said sincerely, "You are so awesome." At this moment, he had a clearer understanding of this adult strength. Whether it was physical skills or swordsmanship, he was incredibly strong, both far superior to himself. Just relying on a shadow clone, without even taking it seriously, you can easily crush him who is going all out. He is worthy of being the man who can kill Gekko Moria. Call, swinging dumbbells of incredible weight. There was no shaking at all in his hand, which was extremely stable. William, who did not stop training, said bluntly, "You have not fully utilized the ability of the underworld fruit. Next, I will guide you in related development and training. In addition, your sword skills also need to be improved." In addition to resurrecting people after death, does the underworld fruit have other abilities? Brook was filled with surprise. He always thought that this was the end of the underworld fruit. In addition to turning himself into a landlubber, it also gives him a chance to be resurrected after death. Sure, any ability, in addition to the basic abilities that come with it, can play a more powerful role as long as it is developed in a reasonable and in-depth manner. But that is related to the individual's talent. The perfect muscle lines are tight and sparkle under the sunlight, as if he had formed a muscle memory. William persisted in waving the dumbbells while looking at the other person strangely. Speaking of which, I'm very curious. After you came back from the dead, you haven't practiced seriously in the past few decades. It's really embarrassing that you can't even defeat a zombie. Judging from Brook's progress in 2 years, it's not that he has no potential to tap. But after this guy was resurrected with the power of the underworld fruit, he never practiced well at all. As long as Brook practices seriously, even if you don't know hockey, you can't defeat Ryoma zombies. In fact, Moria will not take away his shadow so easily. Not to mention defeating Moria, the 7 warlords of the sea. But at least I can retreat calmly. But after hearing what William said later, his old face couldn't help but blush. He scratched his afro and smiled sheepishly. After I was resurrected, because the rudder of the ship was broken, I couldn't leave this devil's triangle of sea no matter how hard I tried. Moreover, because I lost my goal, I fell into confusion for a long time. Also, I always thought that after turning into a skeleton, my body's speed and strength have been limited. No matter how hard I try, I can't get stronger. Brook asked excitedly, "What do you think? Can I become stronger again?" The underworld fruit has a very special ability. It can bring people back to life. William looked at Brook seriously and couldn't help but sigh. "But I have to admit, your situation is really rare. What's incredible is that even in the state of a skeleton, you can continue to digest food and absorb the nutrients. Your bone strength and speed haven't changed, not only because you haven't exercised enough, but also because you were trapped in the devil's triangle and didn't eat much at all. If you remember correctly, Brook is ready to eat. And what's exaggerated is that even with a handful of bones left, this guy can still defecate normally. Even if the skeleton is cracked or chipped due to external force damage, calcium can be replenished by drinking milk to heal the cracks and regenerate the bones. That seems to make sense. Brooks suddenly understood. Over the years, he rarely ate, because he is a capable person and cannot go into the sea. And I met almost no one. Even the other ghost ships were mostly destroyed. There is no way to leave this sea area. So, I speculate that you can actually become as strong as a normal human being. William smiled and said, and since you no longer have a body, there is no limit to aging. In theory, you can still grow. Logically speaking, Brooke is already 80 or 90 years old, right? But his bones did not age over time like normal old people. Therefore, William believes that even if Brooke puts aside the development of his fruit abilities, as long as he eats normally and supplements it with some reasonable exercise, he can still continue to become stronger. However, your bones are indeed too fragile. Looking up and down at Brooke's Nathan White skeleton, William added, after some time, I will find a way to help you strengthen it, he thinks. Paramecia, Munch Fruit's ability, should strengthen Brooke's frame. After all, apart from the black afro, all that's left of this guy is a skeleton. If you modify it a little bit, I believe you won't care too much, right? Is that okay? Brooke was shocked. Not sure, but you could give it a try. William didn't care about authenticity. Anyway, over there in the Drum Kingdom, it's not far from their route, and it's on the way. By this time, the king of the Drum Kingdom, Wapple, has most likely become a user with the ability of Munch Fruit. Just tie this guy up. It doesn't matter whether you listen or not. Anyway, he was able to pass the Shadow Fruit's ability, the ability to forcibly control the opponent and control Munch Fruit in disguise. Yo ho ho ho, that's really great. Brooke was excited, spinning around happily there. Suddenly, a violin appeared in his hand, and he bowed to William. Sir William, please let me play a song for you to express my gratitude. Then I'm all ears. Chapter 21 Pirates? Negative Ghost, The Voyage of the Sea. It's boring. A week passed by in a hurry. In the past few days, not to mention the islands, not even a ship has been seen. In the harsh climate of Grand Line, sometimes there are violent storms, sometimes there are hail and snowstorms, sometimes it is sunny and sunny. For William and others, they have long been accustomed to it. Although those zombie navigators are not very good. But the huge size of the terror ship is enough to ignore most severe climate changes. Lord Yasuo, a jet black, extremely fast falcon hovered down from high in the sky. He actually spoke human words and reported there. At 3 o'clock, about 10 nautical miles away, there's a large pirate ship. The hull is somewhat damaged, as if it had just experienced a battle. There are probably hundreds of people. Surprisingly, it seemed to be full of death. There is absolutely no vigor and vitality that a raptor should have. Located on the front of the ship of terror, it is a transformed training ground. Relying on the return of life, he shrunk his body and changed into the vest of the swordsman Yasuo. William, who was instructing the training of Perona, Brooke, and Habaku, raised his eyebrows. Pirate ship. The three people who were training were even more surprised. Immediately, he looked at William with burning eyes. Some expectations. Is it within range? William smiled. Just right, I want to verify my new ability. Yo ho ho ho. Has Master William developed a new ability? Brooke on the side was curious regarding the exaggerated talents of this adult. He was already so shocked that he was no longer surprised. In just a few days, he saw with his own eyes what genius is. The opponent's swordsmanship has improved rapidly, and the speed of improvement is simply jaw-dropping. He is already a veritable swordsman. SSS. I'm really looking forward to it. Habagu, wearing a white coat, said with a strange smile. He, it's bad luck for them. Perona, who was sweating profusely from training, shook her ponytail. He folded his arms and had big round eyes, full of excitement. Then let me contribute. Damn, I'm so unlucky. On the rough sea, a large pirate ship, hundreds of meters long, was moving forward there. A middle-aged man with a fierce face wearing a pirate hat and a gray captain's cape was cursing. Those marine guys are chasing us like dogskin plaster. Surprisingly, he wore a black eye patch that covered his left eye, leaving only his right eye exposed. There were 2 pistols on his waist, and a large gold chain as thick as a thumb hung around his neck. full of roughness and fierceness. In his hand, he held a gleaming sword. "Captain, what's next?" There are traces of battles all over and some damaged pirate ships. Some fierce pirates looked at their captain. Many people even wore some bandages and colorful clothes. Somewhat embarrassed. Obviously, he was at a disadvantage in the previous encounter with Marine. Didn't take any advantage. What can be done? It's impossible to fight them head-on, right? They're a small fleet, headed by Marine's most advanced warship. Damn it. What are you afraid of? We are the one-eyed pirate group famous in North Blue. Yes, our captain is the frightened one-eyed hacks with a bounty of 98 million Baileys. Wait a minute, that's the Vice Admiral of Naval Headquarters, and their warships are too powerful. On deck. Those cadres, you said something to me. Blushing and starting to argue. It was extremely noisy. Bang, bang. Please be quiet. One-eyed hacks frowned. He pulled out his pistol and fired several shots in succession. The cadres and other pirates who were arguing and almost fighting were quickly quieted down. They all looked at their captain there. Stop arguing. One-eyed hacks put his hands on his hips and gritted his teeth and said, try to get rid of those guys. If you can't get rid of them, you'll have to fight. Captain, there is a situation on the sea. Suddenly, on top of the mast, the watchman was filled with panic. There he loudly reported to the bottom. It's an island. With the help of a monocular telescope, he looked at the huge thing coming slowly and increasingly clearly from the distance. With disbelief, he broke out in cold sweat. Gulu! No, that is a ship. What? The pirates below were all shocked and inexplicable. The leader, One Eye, and the other cadres couldn't help but look solemn on their faces. He's in such a panic that he can't say anything right. He's such a worthless guy. What exactly is going on? He scolded with a cold face. One-eyed hacks came to the bow. He took out a monocular telescope from his pocket and looked at the sea in the distance. Immediately, his color suddenly changed. I saw the sea on the right. A huge island ship is approaching. The direction was clearly where they were. That ship, staring at the sea ahead. One-eyed hacks frowned, a little surprised. It's a pirate ship. Gulu, this is too big. Captain, do you want to avoid it? After taking a clear look at the exaggerated island ship, all the officers of the one-eyed pirates couldn't help but change their colors in shock. The huge pirate flag on it showed that it was not an ordinary ship, but a pirate ship. Avoid them. One-Eye's expression changed, but he finally ordered through gritted teeth. Although he has a bad temper, he is not stupid. For such a huge pirate ship, the opponent's background is definitely not small. At this time, on top of the mast, there was a burst of crisp and arrogant laughter. Sorry, I want to leave at this time, but it's a bit late. Ooh. For a while, both One-Eyed Hacks and his pirates couldn't help but change their expressions. He suddenly raised his head and looked up. I saw a girl wearing a crown, twin ponytails, a princess dress, and holding a flower umbrella, floating strangely in midair. Beside her, there were several strange, jelly-like, translucent ghost creatures floating there. He was looking at these pirates with a smile. That is Intruder. A woman. Why is she able to float there? Is she an Esper? What are those weird jelly-like things? Look at Perona, who suddenly appears above. The pirates of the One-Eyed Pirates were a little shocked. Seeing that the opponent seemed to have no weight, floating on it without falling down, I guessed that the opponent was probably Demon Fruit Power. Who are you? The right eye is fixed on Perona above. One-Eyed Hacks' face darkened, and he shouted and asked, He. The figure floats, holding a small flower umbrella. He looked down at the pirates below. Perona put one hand on her waist and said extremely arrogantly, I declare that you have all been captured. Do you want to surrender and be captured? Or do you want me to take action myself? What? A whole court death. Fire. It's just a person with abilities. A woman who doesn't know how to live or die. Bang bang. For a while, the pirates below were enraged. There was no need for the gloomy-looking One-Eye to give orders. Several fierce-looking pirates had already raised their guns and pointed them at Perona above. No mercy, just pull the trigger. However, a shocking scene happened for them. Bullets pierced through Perona and the ghostly creatures around her strangely. It couldn't hurt her at all. What? This is an amazing scene. A famous pirate's eyes widened. Even one eye, and the cadres couldn't help but change their expressions. He, you really have to drink wine as a penalty if you don't eat the toast. Perona sneered and took action directly. Ghosts kept emerging from the palm of his hand, forming a row. Negative ghosts. In the shocked and incomprehensible eyes of one-eyed hacks and other pirates. They all flew down. Chapter 21 Shadow Tailor, the combined shadow. Yo ho ho ho, I got it all in one go. The ghost fruit is such a terrifying ability. Not long after, the huge island ship came slowly. The huge mouse swallowed the large pirate ship. William, Habagu, Brooke, and others came to the pirate ship. A pirate with a fierce appearance was lying there in a state of confusion, looking extremely depressed, completely losing the ability to resist. If there's an afterlife, I would rather be a flea. Even the pirate captain, who wears a pirate hat and has a strong aura, is no exception. Damn it, who are you? One-eyed, Hax was so weak that he knelt there and raised his head tremblingly. Hee, open your eyes wide and watch. This is the vice captain of our hell pirates, Lord Wei. Yasuo. Perona put her hands on her hips. He raised his chin and introduced proudly. After getting along with him these days, she has already been completely impressed by this adult's strength and appearance. The key is that although William is sometimes domineering, the other party has never treated him badly. It's just that sometimes he is too bad and always likes to bully himself. Hiss, Sir William, I have found out clearly. They are the one-eyed pirates. Dr. Hobakugu, who was wearing a white coat, was flipping through the reward list. This guy is one-eyed hacks. Bounty of 98 million Baileys. The bounties of several of his cadres also range from 5 million to 30 million. He was filled with excitement. There are at least hundreds of these pirates. With so many shadows, many zombies should be resurrected. Oh, William raised his eyebrows and nodded slightly. Although the bounty does not exceed 100 million, it is still barely usable. Just right. Next moment, he looked sharply. A flash of red light flashed in his eyes. The ability of the shadow fruit was activated. Shadow assembly area? What? My shadow for a moment. Under the horrified gazes of the few remaining conscious pirates, such as One Eye. Brush. Human-shaped black shadows extended from the pirates' bodies and gathered on his hands. There are hundreds of them. These shadows tried to struggle, but were held tightly by William, unable to resist. Crack! The two intertwined shadow knives turned into large scissors. Cut these shadows off. Thump. A pirate fainted immediately after being hit hard. He collapsed to the ground and lost consciousness. Lock them all up. William ordered directly to the zombie soldiers. The target whose shadow has just been taken away will not immediately turn into ashes due to the sun's irradiation. But after a quarter of an hour, the ability of the shadow fruit will truly take effect. It's like an irresistible curse. Once a person who has lost his shadow is struck by the sun, he will be burned or even directly turned into ashes and disappear from this world. This is why, in the original trajectory during the Summit War, Moria used the ability of the shadow fruit to plunder the shadows of the pirates and marines who were fighting. Those people just fainted and had no direct reason for disappearing. These days, a large number of cells have been built underground on the Ship of Terror. It was specially used to hold the prisoners whose shadows he had taken away. This is also just in case. Yes, lots of zombie soldiers. They boarded the ship in 3s and 5s and began to send these unconscious prisoners to the underground prison on the island ship. At the same time, under the command of Perona, the treasures and supplies on the ship began to be transported. These are their trophies. Of course, it is impossible to let go. Lord William, are you going to create zombies directly next? Looking at the hundreds of shadows on William's hand, Habagu asked expectantly. Not in a hurry. William waved his hand. He directly activated the new ability he developed and began to operate. Shadow Tailor. This is it sewn up in the unbelievable eyes of Perona, Brooke, Habagu, and the zombie soldiers. Brush. Thin black lines flew out from William's hands one after another. It actually penetrated these shadows one after another, connecting them alive. Dazzling. It's like cutting and piecing together a rag doll. All of a sudden, one shadow after another was cut by William and was forcibly pieced together. Finally, it spliced into a large shadow. No, it is no longer an ordinary shadow. It has become completely like William's shadow mage. It became round and round, like a black humanoid doll. He kept struggling there, but William held him tightly. His Hogbaga gasped. Immediately his eyes were burning, full of excitement. With so many shadows put together, wouldn't it be? It's unbelievable. Brooke's skull jaw almost dropped to the ground. Is this your new ability, Lord William? Perona's eyes flashed with diamonds, full of admiration. It's really amazing. One can imagine, so many shadows combined to form one shadow. How powerful is it once it is implanted into the corpses of those strong men who have been perfectly repaired by Hogbaku using the Paramecia repair fruit ability? Even if shadows don't have much of a rejection reaction to corpses, forcibly cutting and splicing so many shadows will undoubtedly require higher requirements for the carrier. Gazing at this shadow puppet that was stitched together by a large number of shadows, which seemed to be many times larger than before and expanded like a rag doll, William shrugged. As a target of a shadow carrier, your body must be strong enough, can accommodate and carry such a combined shadow. Hiss, 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 I don't think you need to worry about this. Hogbagu was very excited and said with a strange smile, after strict screening, the corpse of a zombie general of this level should be more than enough strength. He is very confident in his repair skills. Chapter 22. Zombie General Number 1. The Pillar of the Five Treasure Navy? Clang. Not long after, the shores of the terrorist ship, along with the coffin, which was no less than 5 meters and extremely heavy, a dozen zombie soldiers worked hard to carry it over. After opening it, a tall figure with a sturdy build and golden armor lay inside. The face is lifelike, but without any trace of life. Is this? Brooke's pupils narrowed sharply. Hiss, hiss, hiss. His name is Wang Lun. He comes from the Kingdom of Flowers. He was once the 10th generation pillar of the Five Treasure Navy. The famous pirate Achaku in the New World is one of his tribesmen. There, Hogbagu introduced with a strange smile. The bounty during his lifetime was more than 400 million belly, and that was the bounty more than 20 years ago. Later, Moria sneaked into the Kingdom of Flowers, dug up his grave, and stole the body. The five-treasure naval force of the Kingdom of Flowers? Brooke's eyes widened. He was born in a certain country called West Blue and was once the leader of the Kingdom's Guard. Naturally, I have heard of the notorious and feared pirate teams in the Kingdom of Flowers, although the Flower Country officials strongly deny their relationship with them. Who in West Blue doesn't know that they are secretly supported by the Flower Country officials and specialize in plundering? As the 10th generation pillar of the Wubao Navy, Wang Luan's opponent's strength during his lifetime was obviously not too weak. Then let's get started. William was not impressed. There is no need to worry about whether resurrecting Wang Luan as a zombie general will offend the Five Treasure Navy of the Flower Country or even other pirate forces with the same spirit. I will give you a new life. You will forget the past and serve me wholeheartedly. You must not disobey. A strange red light shone in his eyes, made up of a large number of shadows. Some weird shadow puppets were directly bound to a master-servant contract. Following William's instructions, it stopped struggling. There he nodded blankly. Then, resurrect. Zombie General Number 1 Wang Luan. William grabbed the shadow puppet and pressed it on Wang Luan's body. All of a sudden, the bulging shadow sank into his body and disappeared as if falling into a quagmire. Buzz soon, under the watchful eyes of Brooke, Perona, Hogbagu, and others. Wang Luan's body was shaken all over. Thump, thump. Waves of drum-like heartbeats could not help but come from his broad chest. The thick fingers began to flex and move. The rough face twitched slightly, and his eyes suddenly opened. The eyeballs were covered with terrifying bloodshot eyes and exuded a ferocious aura. I am the resurrected Wang Luan. The whole person sat up. Looking around, his eyes were filled with confusion. From today on, You are my #1 zombie general, Wang Luan, and I am your master, William said calmly there. Yes, you are my master. A blank stare gradually become clearer. A long black beard swayed. Wang Luan stood up suddenly, and the tall figure knelt on one knee in front of William. Lowered his head. Master, you recognize your master so quickly? Perona was surprised. Isn't it said that the stronger you are, the longer you will cause trouble after resurrection? Indeed, Lord William's shadow almost demolished the island after it was implanted in Oz's body. Hobakugu was also full of confusion. Looking at Wang Lun, the former pillar of the Five Treasures Navy, is this guy so weak? After all, Sir William used hundreds of new shadows from pirate shadows to create a new zombie general. Among them, One-Eyed hacks a bounty of nearly 100 million belly. Logically speaking, he cannot be that weak, right? Did it fail? Brooks scratched his head in confusion. The puppet-like shadow just now was, after all, a new ability developed by William. It was the first time to make such a bold attempt, and it was not impossible that he had not yet fully mastered it. It was possible that he might really produce a failed product. You will know if you try it. William's mouth curled up slightly. As he said that, he directly ordered Wang Lun, the zombie general. Go, Wang Lun. Let this skeleton see your strength. Yes, master. Wang Luan received the order. The tall figure stood up suddenly. Wait, Lord William. Brooke was startled and shook his hands there. But Wang Luan grabbed an exaggerated giant sword directly from a coffin. Before Brooke could speak, he had already slashed out. Whoosh! The wind whistled. A huge slash flew out. Brooke, who was in a hurry, barely avoided it. The damaged, large pirate ship behind him, which had been emptied of supplies. It was ruthlessly torn apart in an instant. Split into two. Boom, boom. Hiss! Brooke turned his head. The skeleton opened his mouth wide. He gasped and sweated. So powerful. This bearded man. Perona and Hogubagu were shocked. They all widened their eyes, a little bit unbelievable. I didn't expect the zombie general created by William to be so amazing. He was immediately excited. Gurgle. It split the pirate ship in an instant. It's worthy of being a zombie general created by Lord William. Too powerful. The zombie soldiers who were watching there. They all opened their mouths wide, shocked and speechless, and some were shocked. They stared blankly at the pirate ship that was cut open and slowly sank to the bottom of the sea, and then looked at Wang Luan's tall figure, all showing awe. They are both zombies. Is the difference so big? This can easily kill zombie soldiers like them in seconds. And it's the kind that kills a large number of them with one knife. I've already told you not to compare me to that half-assed Moria. William folded his arms and spoke calmly. It seemed that he had expected this scene and was not surprised. The puppet shadow, made of hundreds of shadows using shadow tailoring, is not comparable to a single shadow. Although Wang Lun's strength is not as good as when he was alive, it is not much worse. Generally, pirates with bounties of hundreds of millions are not his opponents at all, except for those special ability users. Moreover, as a zombie resurrected by the power of the shadow fruit, he has advantages that ordinary strong men do not have. He is not afraid of injury, death, or fatigue, and can fight all the time, even if he will be restrained by salt and seawater. But such a weakness is only equivalent to the general demon fruit power. It is obviously not that easy to defeat this new type of zombie general. Chapter 23, Momosaji Vice Admiral and Major Hina, Lord William. This is Marine. The Marine fleet, a total of 5 warships, is approaching here before William was ready to fully test the combat effectiveness of Wang Lun, the #1 zombie general. A swift zombie falcon suddenly fluttered down from high altitude and reported to it there. Oh, Marine. William raised his eyebrows. But there was no panic. Now they are wearing the guise of 7 warlords of the sea, and they have the privilege of legal robbery and immunity from being wanted. Not to mention, it is just a small fleet. Even if it encounters the Admiral of Naval Headquarters, what is there to fear? Hee 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 hee. Do you want to kill them? Master William. The spirit body left the body, and there was no physical body. Perona was floating in the air. Looking at the sea in the distance, I am eager to try it. It depends on whether they know each other, William said calmly. Furthermore, the 7 warlords of the sea cooperate with the world government, not Marine. Only the world government has the right to order them, and there is no need to give them face. After all, it is a fleet, no matter how small it is. With his current strength, it is impossible to destroy them all in an instant. Even if the news is not leaked, Marine will infer some clues based on the whereabouts of the terrifying ship. Right now, he still needs the skin of 7 warlords of the sea. There is no need for a head-on confrontation with Marine. Soon, a Marine fleet consisting of 5 or 6 warships of different sizes appeared in the sight of William and others. Above, the seagull flag belonging to Marine is hunting in the wind. Guion Vice Admiral, on top of the large battleship headed by a Marine female major with long pink hair and a dashing appearance, was saluting the tall, sexy, and beautiful Naval Headquarters Vice Admiral Momosaji, who was wearing a cloak of justice in front of her. She loudly reported, "That should be the 7 warlords in front of you. The terror ship of the sea, Gekko Moria. This is no ordinary Naval Headquarters Vice Admiral. Instead, the powerful Vice Admiral was listed as a candidate for Admiral. It is said that he has the overwhelming ability to serve as Admiral of Headquarters. It is also the flower of Marine that countless Marines are fascinated by. Gekko Moria?" Hear the words. Momosaji stared at the huge island ship ahead. There was a hint of surprise on her pretty face. "Didn't you say that guy has been hiding in the Devil's Sea for these years and rarely comes out?" Information about the 7 warlords of the sea. Naturally, she, the Naval Headquarters Vice Admiral, didn't know everything. Even though she has never dealt with Gekko Moria, she still knows the general situation of the Moria pirates. The terror ship suddenly appeared here, which inevitably surprised Momosaji. "That's not clear." Major Hina shook his head and said hesitantly, "But their flag seems to have changed." She took out an information manual and kept flipping through it. Above, there is information about each pirate group. In addition to the pirate captain himself, it also includes some of their key members, pirate flags, pirate ships, and other related information. Finally, I turned to the Moria pirates. It was delivered to Momosaji, the Naval Headquarters Vice Admiral, and he pointed at the flag on the ship of terror. There is a big difference between the pirate flag of the Moria pirates in the manual and the pirate flag currently hanging on the terrifying ship. Black flag above. A ferocious skull is extremely eye-catching, with 2 thigh bones intertwined. It's like an evil ghost crawling out of hell with its wings spread out. It's daunting. "Oh," Momosaji raised an eyebrow. Hina on the side bravely took out a small piece of paper from her 4th-dimensional pocket. On the palm of my hand, the small piece of paper was slowly moving in the direction of the ship of terror. Guion Vice Admiral, looking at the life card in her palm, she frowned slightly and said, "In the previous firefight, I left a life card on the ship of the One-Eyed Pirates. At this moment, the life card is facing the movement of the terrifying ship means that the One-Eyed Pirates are there. A life card made from the owner's nails, hair, and other materials. Not only can it show the owner's life status, but the torn-off parts of the same life card will attract each other. Although he was previously in a firefight with the One-Eyed Pirates, considering that One-Eyed Hax was just a young pirate with a bounty of less than 100 million belly, Momosaji intended to train his subordinates and did not take action directly. But Major Hina of the Naval Headquarters is currently in charge of Momosaji's powerful Vice Admiral. When the opponent saw that the situation was not going well and wanted to evacuate, he decisively used his cage fruit ability to quietly nail part of the life cards torn off to the opponent's pirate ship. Moreover, the stern of the boat was specially selected to be a relatively hidden part that is not easily noticed. Therefore, it can always lock the position of the One-Eyed Pirates and bite the opponent tightly. This is also a method commonly used by Marines to pursue targets. It seems that those guys from the One-Eyed Pirates are most likely on the ship of terror. Signal for negotiation and move closer, Momosaji said in a deep voice after glancing at the life card in Hina's hand. Moreover, the ship of terror suddenly changed its flag, which also made her a little confused. Generally speaking, once pirates confirm their pirate flag, they rarely change it. I made up my mind to find out. Although the 7 warlords of the sea are pirates who are famous on the sea and are invited by the world government to join them, each one has amazing strength and few are defeated. Especially for a guy like Gekko Moria, who is able to survive a battle with monsters like Kaido in the New World, his strength is definitely not comparable to ordinary pirates. Especially in the first half of the Grand Line, it is unlikely that any pirate can defeat the opponent. As Vice Admiral of Naval Headquarters, she felt the need to confirm. Find out what happened inside the Moria pirates. Although the 7 warlords of the sea are pirates, they have privileges and we have no right to interfere. Although Hina on the side was a little moved, she still reminded helplessly, "Should I ask for permission from the superiors first?" "No need to bother. I don't want to conflict with them. It's just normal negotiation." Momosaji waved his hand. Although the rank is only Naval Headquarters Vice Admiral, but as an Admiral candidate, she naturally has the confidence to face the 7 warlords of the sea. We have been eyeing that thing for a long time, and we can't just give it to them so easily. Chapter 24. Lush Fruit, Gale Swordsman, Lord William, the trophies have been counted. On the Ship of Terror, a zombie soldier ran over happily. Holding a treasure box in his hand, he said loudly, "We also found a devil fruit in a treasure box." "What? Devil fruit?" Hear the words. It's not just William himself. Perona, Brooke, Habagu, and others were all a little surprised. "Let me see." William stepped forward. He took the treasure box. "Just open it." A green, oval-shaped fruit with 2 green leaves, like a seed sprouting, with strange patterns, lay quietly inside. "What kind of fruit is this?" Perona is full of curiosity. Paramecia, a lush fruit. William's pupils condensed. He had seen the Devil Fruit illustrated book and deliberately memorized it. He knows the shapes and characteristics of most devil fruits very well. It didn't take long to recognize it. Paramecia, lush fruit. What ability is this? Seeing that William recognized the fruit directly, Perona, Habagu, Brooke, and others were all full of surprises. Well, a rather special ability that can control nearby plants and accelerate the growth of plants. Weighing the lush fruit, William shrugged. If you make good use of it, it will have quite an effect. This type of paramecia fruit, although it didn't surprise him too much, it was better than nothing. "Sir William, Marine wants to negotiate with us at this time." As Marine signaled for negotiation, the zombie soldier responsible for raising the flag was busy asking William for instructions. Naval Headquarters Vice Admiral Momosaji, I didn't expect that she would be leading the team. With the help of a monocular telescope, William noticed the tall and heroic figure on the leading warship, and William raised his eyebrows. He recognized Momosaji immediately, because when I was in CP9, I had already seen this famous Marine female Vice Admiral with both beauty and strength. "Sir William, isn't Marine's target the devil fruit?" Brooke said in a deep voice. Perona and Habakugu on the side couldn't help but look solemn. "If that's the case, I'm afraid Marine has bad intentions." "It's not impossible." Despite the curious Perona at all, they took turns taking the lush fruit and looking at it. After a brief consideration, William ordered the zombie soldiers, "Show the flag and allow their flagship to approach." Soon, Momosaji's flagship arrived slowly. Entering the huge mouth of the terrifying ship, it docked on the shore. On the warship, the Marines who were armed with live ammunition were full of tension. Every muscle is tense, highly vigilant, and ready to fight at any time. After all, this is the home of one of the 7 warlords of the sea. Although these big pirates have been recruited, there are still pirates in the final analysis. Don't be nervous, just relax. Momosaji, who is the Vice Admiral of the Naval Headquarters, scolded his subordinates after all. Said, without any hesitation, he took Hina, his adjutant, and several Marines and boarded the terrifying ship. Since the opening of Age of Pirates, countless ambitious people who are unwilling to settle down are vying to go to sea. The number of pirates continues to increase, and the situation on the sea is turbulent. Facing the suddenly violent sea, the somewhat unexpected Marine was overwhelmed with attention. His troops were soon stretched thin, and he was unable to suppress the pirates who were constantly causing trouble everywhere. He is always faced with a new world, headed by Whitebeard, Big Mom, Kaido of the Beasts, and others. They're like pirate emperors who rule over the sea area, and the forces under their command continue to expand like a snowball. A big pirate with increasing strength is a frontal threat. In order to stabilize the sea situation, the world government had to introduce the 7 warlords of the sea policy, promising that Marine would stop wanting him and allowing him a series of rights, such as legal robbery. He recruited the most famous and powerful pirates on the sea in disguise. Let these lawless guys serve the world government to a certain extent. As the time goes, countless pirates who are ambitious and want to challenge the 7 warlords of the sea and step on their heads to become famous use their blood to declare to the world the invincible reputation of the 7 warlords of the sea. Even to this day, under the guidance and propaganda of the world government, intentionally or unintentionally, the 7 warlords of the sea seem to have been closely related to the naval headquarters, a violent organization under the world government, which can be said to be the well-deserved overlord of the sea. There are also the Whitebeard pirates, the Big Mom pirates, the Beast pirates, etc., entrenched in the New World. The famous pirate forces keep pace with each other. A 3-legged situation gradually formed. This has also resulted in the 7 warlords of the sea becoming more and more special in status and cannot be acted upon rashly. As long as the bottom line of the world government is not touched, even Marine, who is supposed to be in a hostile position, sometimes has to pinch his nose and compromise with these notorious pirates. Turn a blind eye to Shichibukai's arrogant and domineering behavior. The vast majority of Marine generals are very dissatisfied and hostile to these 7 warlords of the sea. I have no favorable impression of these rotten pirates at all. Momosaji, the admiral candidate, is no exception. She is confident enough in her own strength that she obviously doesn't worry about whether Moria will take action against her. In fact, deep down in his heart, he wished that the other party would take action against him, so that he could have a reason to arrest him. As for whether the sea situation is stable, that is something that senior officials need to consider. It has nothing to do with her Marine Vice Admiral. Wow, beautiful Miss Marine. I saw Momosaji and his Lieutenant Hina following him. Brook, who was left with only a handful of bones, couldn't help but feel red in his eyes. Subconsciously, I wanted to step forward and ask the other person's fat times as usual. Brook, calm down. Don't embarrass me here. William, who transformed into the swift swordsman Yasuo, knocked his afro in annoyance. Oh, what a rare visitor. William came forward with a number 1 zombie General Longlin, Perona, Habagu, and others, and said with a smile, I wonder if the famous admiral candidate Momosaji Vice Admiral is here. What do you want to do? This handsome young man has never seen you before. Momosaji looked at William and the others in front of him. Faced with the secret transformation of returning life, William, who has shrunk in stature, obviously did not recognize that the other person was the CP9 traitor who caused trouble in Eni's lobby a few days ago, killed his boss and defected directly, and was wanted by the world government with a bounty of 200 million Baileys. Hell, William. But when he noticed William's famous sword Kushui hanging on his waist, his eyes couldn't help but condense slightly. Looking around, he didn't see Moria, so he frowned. Where is Moria? Momosaji was not too surprised that William and others recognized him. After all, as one of the few powerful female vice admirals at naval headquarters, she thought she was somewhat famous at sea. Hiss, hiss, hiss. Lord Moria is not something anyone can just meet if they want to. Dr. Hagba Gu introduced there. This is the vice captain of our Hell Pirates. He is the deputy that Lord Moria personally recruited not long ago. The Swordsman of the Wind, Lord Yasuo. Chapter 25, William versus Momosaji. A tense situation. Vice Captain, Gale Swordsman. Momosaji looked at William in surprise. Unexpectedly, the other party turned out to be the vice captain recruited by Moria himself. But she had never heard of such a powerful person in the sea. However, to be able to suddenly become the deputy of Moria, the 7 warlords of the sea, from an unknown person, shows that his strength must be extraordinary. Wait, the Hell Pirates? Hina, who was following Momosaji, was a little surprised and became wary. Aren't you the Moria pirates? Sorry, I forgot to inform you, Marine. William smiled and said, not long ago, Lord Moria has decided that the Moria pirates will officially be renamed the Hell Pirates. The Hell Pirates? They are really arrogant. Hina pouted, and Momosaji waved his hand nonchalantly. Looking at the leader, William, he went straight to the point. We are chasing the one-eyed pirates, but we lost the clue when we got here. Well, we did kill a group of pirates not long ago. William didn't mean to hide it and admitted generously. But we are Marines' allies, so no thanks. I'm sorry, little brother. Those guys are the targets we were chasing so hard. It's not good for you to cut them off halfway. Momosaji smiled and said to William, should those trophies belong to us, Marine? According to the information obtained by Marine, the one-eyed pirates probably obtained a devil fruit and tried to take it to the Sabeti archipelago to auction it off. This is one of the reasons why Marine pursues the one-eyed pirates. Trophy. He stared calmly at Momosaji before him. William responded with the same smile. Have you ever seen a pirate eat meat in his mouth, and would he let it out? Ah, so there's no need to discuss it? Momosaji narrowed his crescent eyes. Invisibly, it reveals a bit of strength. You can think so. William's expression remained unchanged. Brush. In an instant, everyone present felt a flash of cold light. Momosaji's famous sword, Kinpyra, and William's famous sword, Shusui, were both unsheathed. They collided together instantly. Come! Sparks sputter. Amazing energy surged, and the waves on the sea were rough. William and Momosaji looked at each other. The eyes of both of them were extremely sharp, not giving in to each other. Are we going to fight right from the start? Hina, who was following Momosaji, saw this and sighed. The gloved hands were slightly open, ready to launch an ability battle. Woman, I advise you not to act rashly. But the tall zombie General Wong, Luan, blocked her directly. The extremely sharp sword was pointed directly at the opponent coldly. Brush. For a while, regardless of the Marines who followed Momosaji, or the leaders of the Hell Pirates, such as Perona, Brook, and Hagbagu, as well as the zombie soldiers who act as combatants around them. They immediately raised guns, swords, and other weapons and started to confront each other there. The atmosphere was tense. Hee. At this time, a strange laugh came. Pu Lingling, a group of black bats, fluttered their wings from the direction of the central castle. Momosaji, the Marine Vice Admiral, and the Marines looked at him in confusion. Brush. A large number of shadow bats gathered in midair. A tall, fat figure formed, looking down at Momosaji. Is this how your martial Buddha Sengoku taught you etiquette? If Marine really wants to tear up the agreement and take action against me, the 7 warlords of the sea, then I will accept your shadow without mercy. He bared his fangs and was full of arrogance. He seems not to be afraid of fighting Momosaji at all and is full of murderous intent. Be confident. Gekko Moria. Hina looked sharply. The person who came was surprisingly Gekko Moria, one of the 7 warlords of the sea. Not surprisingly, this should be the ability of the opponent's paramecia, the shadow fruit. Momosaji, who was originally very stubborn and full of strength, sheathed the sword calmly and smiled softly. I'm sorry, I'm rude. I see a young and handsome swordsman here. How? It's inevitable that I'll be happy to see you. Said. He also winked at William in front of him. Graceful and charming. At first, she wondered if something had happened to Gekko Moria. But the moment she saw the other party appear, the doubts in her heart were naturally dissipated immediately. After all, people can fake it, but the ability of Paramecia's shadow fruit cannot be faked. I also want to have an in-depth discussion with Momosaji Vice Admiral. The black sword returns to its sheath. William's eyes were filled with awe-inspiring fighting spirit. Although he knew very well that the woman in front of him must be as strong as a monster. The other party just wanted to test his own strength, and he didn't take it seriously at all. But William was not afraid. Give him some more time. Not to mention an admiral candidate like Momosaji. Even the admiral who truly represents the highest combat power of naval headquarters. He is also confident that he can compete head-on. Win swordsman Yasuo, right? I remember you. holding gin pillow on his waist with one hand. Momosaji looked at the young and handsome swordsman and said with a smile, "I hope you are worthy of that black sword." As the top swordsman in the Marine, she naturally recognized the sword in William's hand. Like her kin Pyra, a famous sword that ranks among the 21 great swordsmen, it is the legendary sword belonging to the dragon-slaying warrior Kyushui, considering that Gekko Moria once fought against Kaido in Wanakuni. The origin of this knife is naturally self-evident. Chapter 26, The Second Shadow. Pirate Empress, no intention of lingering. After Moria appears, Momosaji, the admiral candidate, immediately boarded the ship with his men and left. The atmosphere of tension between the two parties suddenly dissipated. The conflict between the two is somewhat anticlimactic. Thunder, little rain. Lord William, seeing that Marine was not entangled, he just left. Perona, Brooke, Habagu, and others all looked at William. "Adjust the course and continue to Gaia Island," William said nonchalantly, and Moria just showed up. Also came to his side. Yes, one zombie soldier got the order. 3355, it started to get busy. Lord William. Brooke came to William. He pointed at Moria and then at William's shadow, full of doubts. "Your shadow? Let the shadow escape from itself and transform into Moria." Logically speaking, there should be no shadows under the feet of William, a user with the shadow fruit ability. But there was clearly a shadow under William's feet just now. It's just a false shadow. It's easy for me. The corners of William's mouth rose as he said that in the astonished eyes of Perona, Habagu, Brooke, and others, the shadow under his feet disappeared. As expected of Lord William. Still a long way to go. William was not complacent. The ability of the shadow fruit is by no means limited to this. There's definitely not just one shadow that a person with this ability can control. I have been trying to develop the ability of the shadow fruit in depth. Try to see if you can generate a second, third, or even more shadows to fight. But it hasn't been successful yet. It can only be done when the shadow mage breaks away from himself and disguises himself as another target. Creates a false shadow to confuse enemies. But William was not in a hurry. This is already a big improvement. I believe that if you give him some more time, he may not be unable to succeed. He might even be able to use his own soul to create the highest level Homets, just like Big Mom with the ability of the Paramecia soul fruit. Let your shadow truly split. Build into the strongest zombie. I thought we were going to fight at the same time. On the warship slowly leaving. Looking at the exaggeratedly large and terrifying ship that was drifting away. Marines, who were a little nervous and didn't dare to be careless at all, breathed a sigh of relief. After all, what we have to face is the 7 warlords of the sea, which can stand on par with naval headquarters and even compete with the big pirates in New World, rather than some minor characters. Guion Vice Admiral, Hina thought you would really take action. Hina looked at the leader, Momosaji. I'm not that messy yet. Momosaji shrugged. She stared in the direction of the terrifying ship and whispered softly. However, the young vice captain recruited by Moria is not simple. No matter how powerful he is, he can't be compared to you, the admiral candidate, right? Thinking back to that young and handsome figure, Hina was noncommittal. She admitted that the other party was extraordinary and worthy of being the vice captain of the Hell Pirates. But Hina knows better how powerful this marine flower, known as the sexy bomb, really is. He is the leading swordsman in naval headquarters, and his strength is unfathomable. A little-known young swordsman. It's not worthy of the other party's attention. No, I don't just mean strength. Momosaji shook his head and said bluntly, in addition to the fearless fighting spirit, I saw in his eyes a burning ambition. You mean? Hina blinked and was a little stunned. He is definitely not a guy who wants to be subordinate to others. Maybe Moria will shoot himself in the foot. Momosaji said nonchalantly as he stared at the terrifying ship that was getting further and further away. Just watch. Now, located on the first half of the Grand Line, adjacent to the edge of South Blue's comm belt. Some comm seas are filled with bursts of smoke and the smell of blood. A dilapidated pirate ship full of traces of battle. Above, there are petrified statues. Surprisingly, they all looked ugly. There was no movement. And on the opposite side, it is an ancient pirate ship that looks like a movable palace and is pulled by two giant sea snakes. Above, the flag of the Nine Snakes Pirates hangs impressively, fluttering in the wind. A group of female warriors dressed coolly and powerful. They are constantly transporting the cargo on the pirate ship. These are their trophies. Lady Snake Princess's charm is indeed unmatched by anyone. With just a few moves, these men will all be easily petrified. A female warrior was sighing there. Of course, no one can ignore my sister's beauty. A fat and strong female warrior with long orange hair crossed her arms and said proudly, "Sister, I have gained a lot just after this expedition." And on the side, an ugly-looking female warrior with an exaggeratedly large head, long green hair, said to the graceful figure in front of her, "Our luck is really good." "Really?" The beautiful figure nodded gently. She has long black hair that falls to her waist. The tall and beautiful Empress wore a red cheongsam, which perfectly outlined her perfect figure. Next to him, there's a large red and white python hovering, adding a bit of indescribable wild beauty. The whole person is invisibly exuding unimaginable temptation. It makes people fascinated. Can't bear to look away. "Lon, are you collecting newspapers again?" He noticed a female soldier who just passed by, holding a large stack of newspapers. Sandersonia, who was following Boa Hancock, couldn't help but raise her eyebrows. There is no way. This is the task given by Granny New. The young female warrior with short hair and a good figure said helplessly, "Our Nine Snakes Island is in the calm belt. The newsbirds don't pass there, and the news is blocked. So Granny New wants me to do it every time I go on an expedition. Bring back as many outside newspapers as possible." Fortunately, these pirates have the habit of subscribing to newspapers, so this saves a lot of trouble. "Are these newspapers expired?" Marigold glanced. "I noticed that the date above seemed to be 2 months ago." Granny New said, "Even the expired ones." Lon said with a smile there. She glanced at the expired newspaper at the top and sighed. "But it's really incredible. More than 2 months ago, a big incident seemed to have happened in the world government. The Enies lobby, which is said to have never been breached in 800 years, was caused a huge commotion by a traitor named Obask William." Oh, hear the words. The two sisters Sandersonia and Marigold couldn't help but shrink their pupils. Obask William. It was Empress Boa Hancock who was about to return to the cabin. Suddenly she turned her head. "What did you say?" "Who?" "Obask William. I heard that he was a member of Cypher, POLCP9 directly under the world government. For some reason, he suddenly killed his boss, caused a scene in Enies lobby, and then defected." Lon was a little surprised to see Lady Snake, who had never cared about the outside world, reacting so strongly. However, he still pulled out the somewhat worn newspaper. He gestured to Boa Hancock and others. "Here, you're surprisingly young. I heard that you're only 17 years old, and the world government has offered a bounty of 200 million belly." On the front page, a young and handsome figure, with blood-stained hands and cold eyes, he stood proudly in the damaged building. There were corpses of government personnel and Marines lying around. "It's him, Chapter 27, the Three Gorgon Sisters and the Golden Emperor. It's really him." In the antique cabin, I couldn't wait to open the tattered newspaper. She stared at the young figure on the front page. Boa Hancock's beautiful face was no longer the arrogance and indifference of the pirate queen in the past, but full of excitement. Although he has changed a lot, it should be him. Not only her, but also Sandersonia and Marigold. Everyone was shocked and couldn't calm down. "Our benefactor." Marigold's voice trembled. "I didn't expect that he would betray the world government." Sandersonia couldn't believe it. "It's really something he would do to make a scene in Enies lobby alone." Boa Hancock tightly grasped the newspaper. Trying her best to calm down her inner fluctuations, she said in a deep voice, "After all, 8 years ago, when he was only 9 years old, he dared to disobey the order of the world government in Sabaody Archipelago, risking his life to kill other government officials present and let us go. Such a daring act is not something that ordinary people can do. She stared at the young and handsome figure. She couldn't calm down, and her past memories gradually came to her mind. 12 years ago, the three sisters were kidnapped from the ship of the Nine Snake Pirates by the slave group, and were bought from the slave auction by celestial dragons and became slaves. For years later, the fisherman hero Fisher Tiger climbed up the Red Line alone, took advantage of the lax guards in Mariewa, set fire everywhere, and rescued countless slaves. She was only 16 years old, and she and her two sisters were also released and fled to Sabaody Archipelago. At that time, although she was only 9 years old, she was sent out to perform tasks at a young age because of her outstanding performance in daily life, responsible for capturing those escaped slaves. When the three sisters were blocked by several CP agents and looked desperate, that inconspicuous boy among the CP agents actually took action at this time, with a strength that was completely inconsistent with his age. He killed the other agents present cleanly and neatly. Let them go. The weak cannot survive in this cruel world. Since you have finally gotten rid of your slave status, cherish the hard-won freedom and work hard to become stronger. My name is Obask William. I hope you will become stronger when we meet again next time. Thoughts returned. Looking at the young figure in the newspaper, Boa Hancock sighed there. I really want to see him again. Indeed. The two sisters Sandersonia and Marigold also smiled and said, "Tis TSK, the boy in the past has grown into a handsome guy." Looking at the unbelievably handsome boy in the photo, the corners of his moist lips slightly raised, and Hancock nodded in approval. It's very handsome. Woo! Splash. In the unknown sea, the terrifying ship is moving forward in the wind and waves. The weather on the Grand Line changes at any time. The sun was shining brightly the moment before, and the wind was howling and the rain was pouring in the blink of an eye. Drip, drip, drip. In the gorgeous castle, William looked at the heavy rain outside the window. Thinking of his experience in the past period, he couldn't help but feel a little emotional. But he didn't know that the news that he killed his boss, made a scene in Eni's lobby, and rebelled against the world government attracted the attention of Boa Hancock, the pirate queen. The gold mine of the kingdom of Karis was stolen. Looking at the report on the newspaper about a kingdom with rich gold reserves that disappeared overnight, William's eyes flashed. Golden Emperor? Don't let me down. The corners of his mouth rose slightly. Being able to completely mine a large gold mine in such a short time and turn it into a worthless waste mine, in all likelihood, it was the ability of the Paramecia gold fruit. See Circle Calendar1507. He had just turned 9 years old, but he had already mastered 6 physical skills, including paper arts, finger pistol, moonwalk, and shaving. His extremely high talent attracted the attention of the higher-ups, and he was trained as a key person. He was often arranged to leave CP's training base, Guanhao Island, to perform missions and fight. Back then, the fisherman hero Fisher Tiger risked the world's condemnation, climbed to the top of the Red Line with his bare hands, set fire to the Holy Land Mariewa, and let a large number of slaves go. He was sent to the Sabaody Archipelago to capture the escaped slaves. At that time, William and several CP agents blocked the escaped Hancock sisters. But of course, he didn't let them go out of kindness. Not only did he know the other party's potential and background and wanted to make a good relationship, but also because his innate observation haki had already sensed that there was a very amazing breath approaching, judging that it was most likely Pluton Rayleigh who was hiding there. He killed several other CP agents present without hesitation and let them go. And Guild Tesoro, who was also among the escaped slaves at the time. William had already been eyeing him and secretly subdued him. He also gave him the 6-style training method. 5 years ago, he arranged for Guild Tesoro, who had been tempered for several years and was already strong, to create chaos at the Sabaody Archipelago auction house and snatch the Paramecia golden fruit that the Don Quixote family used to attract customers but was not prepared to sell. However, Guild Tesoro, who had power and thought he could control his destiny. Obviously, his ambitions gradually expanded, and he was no longer as humble as before and was willing to be inferior to others. Due to William's special status, it was not convenient for him to show up often. The two had been out of touch for a long time. You can't wait to break free from your chains before your wings are even hard enough? Huh? Chapter 28 William versus Shadow. Mage time flies. In the blink of an eye, another week has passed. On the undulating sea, the huge and terrifying ship kept moving forward. On that vast training ground, bang, bang, two identical figures were fighting fiercely there. Tempest kicked chaos. William's eyes were sharp. His body was like lightning, and he kicked out violently. Whoosh, whoosh. Shocking light green slashes appeared out of thin air. Paper Art's flash. Opposite him, the Shadow Mage, whose appearance had changed just like William's and was completely unrecognizable, moved in the wind at an incredibly weird angle, like an extremely thin piece of paper. He dodged the incoming slashes one by one. Next moment, it snapped. Fly finger pistol. One after another, thin invisible air blades came through the air, but William narrowly dodged it. Shave! Almost at the same time, the two figures stamped their feet and rushed out. His fists and feet became as black as ink and wrapped around armament hockey. Crazy punches and kicks. Bang, bang, bang. For a while, the shadows of fists and legs are dazzling. The two are constantly colliding there, extremely fierce, not giving in to each other. Woo-hoo-hoo. Amazing energy. The ground cracked and gravel flew. The undulating sea surface seemed to become more turbulent. Oh ho ho. Even the clone is so powerful in combat. A clearing in the distance. There is only a handful of bones left, and Brooke, who was practicing swordsmanship there, sighed with emotion. You are indeed Lord William. Huh, of course. Lord William is a man destined to become the Pirate King. Perona, who had just finished her morning exercise around the Ship of Terror, was sweating profusely and shook off the sweat, saying with pride. As he spoke, he untied the extremely heavy lead bags on his hands and legs, as well as the exaggerated weight-bearing clothes on his body. He sat down. The whole person felt relaxed instantly. Take the juice from the zombie soldier. Squint your crescent eyes and enjoy it happily. I can't hold on any longer. Dr. Habagu was weak and lay there in a large shape. He was sweating profusely and breathing heavily. These days, William has forced him to continuously strengthen his training. He had gradually adapted to it, but not long ago, William started to increase the amount of money again. Running with a heavy load is undoubtedly a huge challenge for the fat house like Hogbagu. But as time goes by, putting aside the fruit ability, the two people could only be regarded as fighting against the five scum, but the gap between them has gradually become apparent. Perona is young and energetic with greater potential, but she was too lazy and neglected to exercise in the past. Under William's high-pressure training, the progress is not unpleasant. Whether it is physical fitness or physical skills, he has begun to lag behind Dr. Habagu, the ship's doctor. Just like now, with the morning training task assigned by William completed, Perona still has some energy left. But Dr. Habakugu was almost exhausted. His physical strength was almost exhausted. Retractable and retractable. Snake, at this time, with William's true form. He gave the Shadow Mage a hard blow and retreated, suddenly punching wildly. And, what's surprising is, its fist continuously extended and turned freely like a lion majesty. From all the tricky angles, they madly bombarded William in front. Whoosh! Whoosh! The sound of breaking through the air continued. The air was densely packed with dark fist shadows. It seemed to be entangled with a quite strong armament hockey, mercilessly. It was dazzling and overwhelming. Swish, swish. However, William seemed to be able to predict the future. With the innate observation hockey, his body was like a small boat in the waves, swinging at an incredible angle and speed like a residual image. He narrowly avoided the punches that kept coming. The next moment, in the astonished eyes of Perona, Brooke, Hogubagu, and others, William's fists, wrapped with hockey, also swung out. What? Perona screamed, and Brooke and Hogubagu also lost their voices, because William's fists, like the shadow clone in front of him, were like rubber and also stretched strangely. The fists of the two kept colliding with each other. Boom! Boom! The roar continued. The two figures kept colliding. A large amount of smoke and dust flew, and gravel splashed. It was a little hard to see clearly. Partial enlargement. Giant pistol. At this moment, almost at the same time, two identical figures shouted at the same time. The fists swelled up at a speed visible to the naked eye, turning into huge fist prints. Like a giant's fist, the two hit hard. Bang! It was a loud noise. The whole island ship shook violently. The training ground, reinforced with cement under the feet of the two, was directly torn and collapsed mercilessly. Large pieces of gravel, accompanied by amazing air waves, kept sweeping away. The big trees were pressed to the east and west. On the sea, the waves were surging. It was shocking. William and his shadow clone stood there at the same time. They stopped and did not continue the confrontation. Lord William, have you been able to control the second shadow? Perona's spirit floated over, blinking his big eyes, full of curiosity. Just now, this lord used the ability of Shadow Revolution to change his shadow and affect his body when Shadow Master left his body. He even enlarged his fist to the size of a giant's fist. He faced each other head-on. Swish! The shadow clone, which was no different from a real person, changed. It turned into a dark shadow at a speed visible to the naked eye and returned to the feet of the body. It's still a little short. William hugged his arms and shrugged, saying, "It's just that when the Shadow Master shadow clone is separated, the ability of Shadow Fruit can be used normally. It will take some time to generate a second shadow clone that can move freely. These days, he has been working hard to develop the ability of Shadow Fruit. He can already use other abilities of Shadow Fruit normally when Shadow Clone of Shadow Master leaves his body without being affected. But it's still a little short of truly creating a Shadow Clone like the second Shadow Master. Because Shadow Master is not an ordinary clone, although it can be completely dominated and controlled by himself. Strictly speaking, it has a certain self-awareness like those deprived shadows. Therefore, it can exert a combat power infinitely close to the original body. Of course, Shadow Clone is not completely flawless. When it and the original body are both engaged in battle, it is equivalent to 1+1. The consumption of its own physical strength is not ordinary. Ordinary people really can't hold on for long. Chapter 29, Gaia Island. Sky Island? Lord William, Gaia Island has arrived. I do not know how long it has been. While William, Perona, Brooke, Hobaku, and other cadres were enjoying breakfast, feasting, and consuming delicious food, a zombie soldier hurried over and reported there. "Oh, spit out a bone." William stood up and chuckled. "Is it finally here?" Next moment, he looked sharply. All the muscles in his body were tense, and he activated the return of life. Brush. Because a large amount of food was eliminated, the slightly bulging belly shook slightly and instantly became as flat as usual. Vaguely visible. On the sea ahead, an island grew larger and larger, clearly visible. That is, it's an island ship. Gulu, this is too big now. On Gaia Island, there are a large number of pirate ships docked on the coast. Groups of fierce-looking pirates gathered there. Noticing the huge thing coming slowly on the sea, they all couldn't help but be a little shocked. They have obviously never seen such a big ship. Hiss, hiss, hiss. Sir William, this island is a lawless zone that is not under the jurisdiction of the world government. A large number of pirates gather all year round. He didn't bother to wipe the greasy mouth. Dr. Hogbugga was full of excitement and danced a little. Now I don't have to worry about materials. He's clearly done his homework. Learn about the situation on Gaia Island. This town called Magic Valley Town is basically a chaotic pirate town. Well, apart from some aborigines, there are indeed many pirates. William nodded with satisfaction. If we sew their shadows together, it should be almost enough to resurrect the remaining zombie generals. He is not a good person. He doesn't care whether these pirates have offended him or not. There is no psychological burden at all on using the shadows of these pirates to create a zombie army. However, in order to prevent accidents to the created zombies, it is too troublesome to imprison so many pirates in the dungeon at once. Still have to filter. It is better to be deficient than excessive. It would be great if I could get the ability of Paramecia Book Fruit, or Paramecia Childlike Fruit. William touched his chin and said secretly, "The book fruit can lock the target into the book world and maintain the lock state for a long time, without hunger or aging. There's no need to waste food, and there's no need to worry about them escaping. Directly save a lot of manpower and material resources. As for the childlike fruit, you can turn these guys into toys after stripping them of their shadows, and make a contract to make them work for you day and night. Even if his shadow is taken away, he cannot appear in the sun. It can also allow these tool people to work for themselves in the dark underground. Implanting their shadows into corpses can also create an undead zombie army. It has to be said that if the childlike fruit matches the ability of the shadow fruit, to be true is to bring the value of captive to the ultimate level. Capitalists are not that bad." I glanced at the white clouds and the blue sky. He directly ordered, "Then I'll leave this place to you. Some smelly fish and rotten shrimps." The strongest pirate on this island is estimated to have a bounty of no more than 50 million belly. There is no need for him to take action personally. "Hey, Sir William, let me ask you a question," Brooke asked curiously. "Is it just for these guys that you came here specifically?" Based on what he knew about William these days, this was unlikely to be the other party's purpose. If you just want the shadows of those powerful pirates, even if we don't go to New World, wouldn't it be better to go directly to Sabaody Archipelago? There, as the transfer station for the first half of the Grand Line, there is bound to be a large number of powerful pirates gathered there. With William's own strength alone, it doesn't take much effort to deal with the new pirates who haven't been to the New World yet. Especially with the privileges of 7 warlords of the sea, Marine will probably not interfere. Of course not. They just happen, by the way. William chuckled. He pointed to the sky above. "My goal is up there, above." Looking at the sky, Hobagugu on the side thought of something. He opened his mouth wide and looked at William in disbelief, full of excitement. "Sir William, is the legend of the Golden Land true?" They had followed Gekko Moria, the 7 warlords of the sea, and had been the first half of the Grand Line for so long. Naturally, they had heard the legend about the Golden Land. The legendary Golden Land? Brooke was full of astonishment and said back then, our Lumba pirates also thought about searching, but in the end we gave up. Lord William, could it be that the Golden Land is up there? Perona stared blankly at the sky above with her big round eyes, somewhat unbelievable. How is this possible? It's hard to say whether the Golden Country is up there. William shrugged and said nonchalantly, "But Sky Island does exist. I'll go up and investigate first. You guys wait for me here and get rid of the pirates in the town. If everything goes well, I will take you up there to open your eyes and see the legendary Sky Island." A man of great skill is bold. He is not worried about the threat of the god Enel, at least with the ability of Paramecia Shadow Fruit. If he wanted to leave, few people in this sea could stop him. What's more, although Thunderfruit's ability is indeed very powerful, but William didn't feel that Enel, who was arrogant and settled in a corner and could only rely on his fruitful abilities to dominate Sky Island, could threaten him. This is confidence in one's own strength. Moreover, he was not without other preparations. Yes, hear the words. The 3 Peronas were all excited. Although they were a little shocked, they certainly had no doubts about William's words. "You know, this gentleman is an elite member of Cypher, POLCP9, which is directly under the world government. It is not surprising that he knows some unknown secrets." For a moment, I was full of longing for the legendary Sky Island. Chapter 30, Instant Shadow. Surprised Enel, on the terrifying ship. The devil-like shadow wings suddenly opened. "Then this place is up to you." Under the gaze of Perona, Brooke, Hogubaku, and others, William flapped his wings and rushed to the sky. Suddenly, William seemed to feel something. The sharp observation Haki realized that there was someone watching him on Gaia Island, which was still far away, and the naked eye could not easily see the human figure. Sniper? Interesting. William raised his eyebrows and smiled. He didn't care and disappeared from the sight of Perona, Brooke, Hogubaku, and others in astonishing speed. 3,000 meters, 4,000 meters, 5,000 meters. Dark clouds. Endless. Shadow line. William's eyes were stern. His right hand was like a pistol, pointing at the sea of clouds above. Swoosh. A dark shadow line pierced through like lightning. Connected to his finger, it sank straight into the cloud. Swish, swish. If at this moment there was someone at the other end of the cloud, he would be shocked to find that a thin, invisible black line suddenly ran from bottom to top, penetrating the extremely thick sea of clouds, extending from the sea surface. The next moment, instant shadow. William's eyes were stern. The whole person disappeared in an instant. In an instant, he strangely crossed the thick sea of clouds and appeared at the other end of the shadow line, standing on the white sea 7,000 meters above King High. Well, is this the white sea? Looking around, it was all white sea of clouds, waves everywhere. William was a little emotional. The sea of clouds in the sky is like a miracle, although it was expected. But when he saw it with his own eyes, it was still a little shocking. It made people sigh at the magic of this world. Instant shadow. This is one of the abilities of the shadow fruit he has developed these days. In fact, the principle is very simple. Using the power of the fruit, he can easily create fine and tough shadow lines that are almost invisible to the naked eye. Not only can it be used to attack the target, but it can also be used as a medium to allow the shadow mage to instantly shuttle to any level on the line when he touches the shadow line. And he can directly exchange positions with the shadow mage at any time and anywhere. In an extremely short time, after these two steps, he can achieve the teleportation effect of freely shuttle within the entire shadow line. It sounds troublesome, but for William, it only takes a moment to operate. His nerve reaction ability is far superior to that of ordinary people. He can do this easily. Woo-hoo-hoo. Looking at the white sea in the sky, William did not prepare to break into Sky Island from the gate of heaven. Instead, he flapped his wings directly and soon rushed under the vast sea of clouds. He did the same again. Swoosh, a fine shadow line. It penetrated through the white sea again. Swish. The next moment, William activated instant shadow again. He followed the shadow line and exchanged positions with a shadow mage who had already traveled to the end of the shadow line in the first time, crossed the thick sea of clouds, and appeared on the white sea. Woohoo! The dark devil's wings fluttered gently. William soared into the air and did not fall into the white sea below. And in front of him, an island with ancient trees, lush vegetation, and clouds and mist was clearly visible. Is this the part of Gaia Island that was rushed up to 10,000 meters from King High by a giant sea current and appeared on Sky Island? William exclaimed, "It's incredible." When I really saw Sky Island, it was completely different from the picture I imagined. The kind of unparalleled visual impact cannot be described in words, let alone just those plants. In the unique climate environment of Sky Island, they have already undergone changes over the long years, and they are many times larger than the species that should be of the same origin under King High. Without further delay, William flapped his wings directly. He turned into a black stream of light and rushed to the island. At this time, on the island of gods Arpiado, in the center of the island, in a rather gorgeous palace. In the hall, a young man with his upper body naked was lazily lying on a soft couch. Next to him, two maids were holding large cattail leaves and gently fanning him. What was surprising was that he had unusually long earlobes. Moreover, he not only wore a headscarf, but also had 4 tomo drums inlaid on his back. His face was slightly sinister and arrogant. Enel suddenly felt something and raised his eyebrows. It seems that a bug broke in. Ka. He grabbed a red apple and took a bite casually. He said indifferently, "Shura, Gadaz, sadly, the 4 of you go and entertain them. I will obey the oracle." 4 priests of different shapes walked out. Kneeling on one knee, he bowed respectfully, not daring to be disrespectful. "Hey, is there fun again? I'm just bored. I hope he can last longer in my swamp trial." As the 4 god-tier officials under the seat of God Enel, they are full of confidence in their own strength. They don't think anyone can threaten them at all. Forget it. It doesn't seem to be an ordinary bug. But before these priests are ready to leave, Enel sat up and showed a playful smile. Grabbed the golden scepter next to him. Let this god play with it himself. I haven't stretched my muscles for a long time. Lord Enel, it's just a bug. You don't need to go out in person, right? Just leave it to us. The 4 god-tier officials were surprised. You are no match, Enel said lightly. The next moment, the 4 god-tier officials suddenly shook all over. What? Their faces changed drastically, and they moved together. They actually raised their weapons and rushed out violently. They all rushed towards Enel in front of them. This sudden scene made the maid next to her pale and scream. Boom! Chapter 31. Puppet Shadow, Arrogant Enel. Boom boom. Inside the magnificent palace, flames billowed, smoke and dust flew. In the blink of an eye, a sharp spear pierced his chest, and his head was beheaded by a sharp cloud sword. But Enel was completely unharmed. Hiss, hiss, hiss. The wound that should have been bleeding. Not only did not a single drop of blood splash out, but it was intertwined with strands of electric light. Interesting. Looking at the 4 god-tier officials who suddenly betrayed, Enel was full of surprise, but also with disdain and sarcasm. Lying. He seemed to feel something. He moved to one side, as if he had dodged something. At the same time, he also noticed that there were black lines that were so thin that they were almost invisible to the naked eye if he didn't pay attention, connecting those priests' shadows. The next moment, he frowned slightly. I felt as if my body was imprisoned. In an instant, it turned into a ball of lightning and disappeared on the spot. Appeared a few meters away. Lord Enel, it's not me. We can't control ourselves at all. Shura, and other priests were horrified and angry. But no matter how hard they tried to struggle, they still couldn't control themselves. Turned around and continued to kill Enel. I know. Enel's face was calm, but he didn't mean to hold back at all. He stomped his feet. 5 million volts discharge. Hiss, hiss, chirp. In an instant, amazing electric light. It kept surging out from his body. In an instant, the 4 god-tier officials, along with the 2 pale-faced maids who were frightened and at a loss, were all hit directly by the current that kept raging from the ground and screamed miserably. They were charred all over and fell trembling. Swish, swish. Lord Enel. Damn it, what happened? I'm so sorry, God. Please forgive my sins. I can't control myself. At this time, a large number of people rushed over one after another. They were all members of the God's Guard who were waiting outside. But each of them had a struggle and fear on their faces, holding their weapons and killing Enel together. Endless, 30 million volts, Thunderbird. Enel frowned. The golden cane in his hand directly hit the Magatama drum behind him. Hiss, hiss, chirp. All of a sudden, the Magatama drum flashed with lightning. The dazzling thunder turned into a huge Thunderbird, flapping its wings and flying out. The members of the God's Guard who rushed up were all burned black by the electricity and screamed miserably. They fell there without knowing whether they were alive or dead. The whole palace became a mess. But in a moment, regardless of the 4 god-tier officers who had fallen, or the members of the God's Guard who had lost most of their life force, they began to move tremblingly. One after another, they stood up strangely. They looked at him eagerly, as if they would rush up again at any time. Can they be controlled even after they are dead? Enel's eyes condensed, somewhat doubtful. He never thought that even if these people were stunned or even died, they still couldn't get rid of the control. They were still controlled. A flash of lightning. He appeared directly outside the palace, standing on a floating large ball cloud. Thunder fruit. It is worthy of being one of the top abilities in the sea. Outside the palace, above a towering tree, William stood proudly with a dark shadow wing on his back. On his hand, a large number of dark shadow lines were intertwined between his 5 fingers, extending from all directions to the palace in front. It seems that the puppet shadow line is indeed unable to control such a Logia ability user. Puppet shadow line. It is one of the shadow fruit abilities developed by William with his open mind and imagination, borrowing from the moves of string fruit. It is similar to the parasite string of string fruit that can control the actions of others. But it does not need to touch the target's body, only the target's shadow, and it can easily control the target's actions by manipulating the target's shadow. But obviously, for Logia ability users who could directly elementalize themselves, such tricks have limited effect. A person with special abilities from King High, looking directly at William's figure, Enel laughed in anger. Yahahaha. I have to say, you really PD me off. Inazuma. All of a sudden, his right wrist suddenly turned into dazzling lightning, locked William in front of him, sweeped out. Sizzle, sizzle, sizzle. The amazing lightning column came ruthlessly, but William seemed to have predicted it long ago and was not panicked at all. Swish! In a flash of lightning, he stomped his feet hard. His body moved sideways at an incredible speed. He narrowly avoided the amazing lightning. Boom, boom. In a blink of an eye, the towering trees wailed. They were broken and destroyed continuously. A large amount of smoke and dust was raised. It made people's scalps numb. You can actually dodge my attack. You are quite strong. Enel raised his eyebrows. Although a little surprised, he was not panicked at all. Instead, he looked very interested. The next moment, a flash of lightning. He turned into lightning and appeared in front of William, looking down at him. Such strength is much stronger than those trash. Enel looked relaxed, full of arrogance and pride. Yahahaha. King High Bug, I'll give you a chance. Follow me and become my servant. I forgive your previous offense. It seemed that he was not threatening, but granting. He thought it was an honor for him to follow him. Oh, William looked directly at the arrogant Enel, his face full of playfulness. This sentence is exactly what I want to say to you, Enel. Yah. Enel heard the words. He couldn't help but laugh in anger. His eyes became cold. That's a pity. Humble and ignorant blasphemer. Repent in despair and fear. The shining golden cane directly hit the Magatama drum behind him. 30 million volts, thunder. However, before he finished speaking, William suddenly moved. Shave. He stepped hard. His figure was like lightning. In an instant, he appeared in front of him as if he had teleported. What? Enel's pupils shrank sharply, and he couldn't believe it. But he was too careless, and before he could attack, a dark fist mark wrapped with haki had already hit his abdomen. Bang! Unimaginable pain came. Wow! Enel's eyes bulged, and he vomited blood. With a distorted face and disbelief, the whole person flew out like a cannonball. William kept his fist swinging, his face calm. Who is so humble and ignorant? Big ears. Chapter 32, Shadow Cage. William, who doesn't talk about martial arts, bang bang. Smoke and dust billowed. One after another, towering trees were knocked down and broken. Enel was covered in blood and was embedded in the ruins. The embarrassment reached the extreme. There was a flash of electricity. His entire being flashed out. Ahem! He staggered a little, and blood started to flow from the corner of his mouth. William stared straight ahead, his distorted face showing complex emotions such as shock, unwillingness, anger, and fear, with disbelief. Impossible! My ability should be invincible. Why can you hurt me? Is it sea stone? No, in the opponent's hands. There is no sea stone. Just now, his mental network, which was born from Sky Island's mental network and the ability of Logia Thunderfruit, could barely predict William's movements. On top of that, he thinks his elementalization is invincible. The other party cannot hurt his own entity at all. Therefore, there is nothing to fear. Unexpectedly, he was hit hard all of a sudden. This made him a little unbelievable. At a loss. Thunderfruit is indeed one of the top abilities in the world. William looked directly at Enel, who was in a state of embarrassment and no longer as high-spirited as before, and said calmly, "It's a pity that you are too weak and far from being able to exert its true power. You guy." When Enel heard this, his eyes were filled with fire. He, who has always been arrogant, was naturally a little angry when he was belittled by William in this way. "You are so complacent. I was just careless just now." Staring at William fiercely, there was a fierce, murderous intent in his eyes. He was furious and yelled, "You're just a bug from King High. I won't give you any chance again." The words have not yet finished. His entire body turned directly into electrons. Suddenly, he appeared in the air about 10 meters away from William. Boom! The golden cane in his hand suddenly struck the Magatama drum behind him. 60 million volts Brontosaurus. All of a sudden, lightning flashes. Roar! A lifelike thunder dragon roared out with its fangs and claws. At an astonishing speed, he pounced on William fiercely. Shadow shield. However, William never dodges. He raised his right hand directly, and the black shadow surged like fluid. In an instant, it turned into a huge black shield and stood firmly in front of him. The electric light shines. The black shield is safe and sound, but the menacing and extremely ferocious Thunder Dragon actually collapsed. The intact black shield shrank back like a fluid and flew to William's feet, turned back into an ordinary shadow. What? This scene. Enel's eyes widened, and he was a little surprised. He never expected that his invincible move would be blocked by someone. How is it possible? Is this what you are capable of? Staring at the strange shadow, Enel felt a little confused. Although he was on Sky Island, he, as a user with the ability of Logia Thunderfruit, still had some understanding of the general types of Devil Fruit. But this kind of ability is really weird, beyond his imagination. Paramecia Shadow Fruit. This is my ability, William said nonchalantly. Immediately afterwards, his raised right hand spread its fingers. I saw countless shadow lines intertwining and surging in the palm of his hand. Shadow Cage. In Enel's shocked eyes. Swipe, swipe. Massive black lines flew out of William's palm. Thousands of them, rushing in all directions without any rules. Enel's expression changed. Relying on Xinhuang's prediction, he retreated violently. The shadow lines that shot out one after another were narrowly avoided. But the golden scepter in his hand was cut off by the tough and extremely sharp black thread. It's frightening. Shueisha. Look around. In the blink of an eye, countless thin black lines directly penetrated countless trees, rocks, buildings, all over the entire island, which was dazzling. Even a thick mountain was penetrated by ruthless, sharp black lines. The entire island has become a dragnet, crisscrossed and densely packed. Makes your scalp numb. Want to block my movement? It looked full of weirdness and blocked the shadow line of the entire island. With vigilance, Enel gently scratched the inaudible black line with his right hand. The sharp shadow line easily cut his fingers. A series of arcs were brought about. The sharpness is shocking. It's useless. My body is like thunder. Enel, who was unscathed, felt relieved. As long as these weird black lines can't hurt his body, there's nothing to be afraid of. Yeah. William chuckled. Shadow Cage. This is one of the moves developed on the basis of Shadow Line by borrowing the ability of String Fruit. Somewhat similar to Heavenly Yeksha Doflamingo's Birdcage. Of course, although these shadow lines are tough, they are not indestructible. After all, William is only a Shadow Fruit user, not a String Fruit user. If it is not reinforced with Haki, it will not pose a direct threat to the truly strong and can be easily torn or destroyed. However, the purpose of Shadow Cage is not just to surround enemies, but to better cooperate with the ability of Instant Shadow. This allows him, as an ability user, to freely move around the battlefield. Take the initiative. In King High, there are many people with Logia abilities like you: Flash, Flame, Magma, Ice and Snow, Storm. William crossed his arms and said bluntly, there are many people who are stronger than you. Don't be too arrogant. Recognize reality, Enel. It's just Paramecia. Stop making such nonsense. Enel was outraged, realizing that the powerful enemy in front of him has mastered some unknown method. It can really hurt his own entity. No matter how conceited he was, he no longer had any reservations. The electric light is dazzling. It's impossible to look straight at. For a moment, Enel's whole body was gushing with intense electric light. His figure expanded at a speed visible to the naked eye. 20 million volts, Thor. A large amount of thunder and lightning materialized. In the blink of an eye, it turned into a bloated thunder giant with shining lightning. It was indescribably shocking, relying on Logia's elementalization capabilities. Enel, who transformed into the god of thunder and had full combat power, ignored the obstacles of those shadow lines. Rush out. Go to hell, King High Bug. like an angry-eyed King Kong. His whole body was shining with intense electric light. Enel was roaring with astonishing aura and murderous intent. Palms intertwined with terrifying lightning. It hit hard. Snapshot. William looked calm. In an instant, he suddenly disappeared from where he was. What? Enel's pupils shrank sharply. His hair stood up, and he was shocked. A strong mental network predicts crises in an instant. But there was no time to turn around. Boom! A sharp kick. It hit him on the head mercilessly. An unimaginable pain came from the back of his head. Enel's consciousness fell directly into darkness. Chapter 33. Enel, the Sandia clan who was defeated. You fell down before I even exerted any force. A large amount of electric light gradually dissipated. He looked at Enel, who began to shrink, a big bump on the back of his head, and fainted. William, who landed firmly, shrugged. In fact, there are many ways to solve Enel. In the final analysis, Enel relies too much on Thunderfruit's ability, and his physical skills are really poor. Although he can already use voltages up to 200 million volts, Enel is obviously still very unfamiliar with the control of the Thor form. Otherwise, rely on the power of the heart network. It stands to reason that it would not be impossible to react. In particular, William's shadow fruit ability, Tion Enel. After all, even a materialized shadow is non-conductive and more insulating than rubber. William didn't even need to use Shadow Cage with such fanfare just now. With his strength, even if he doesn't use the fruit ability, as long as Enel doesn't want to escape, he can easily crush the opponent. It's just that he was happy to see Hunter and wanted to use Enel, a rookie Logia user, to verify the new abilities he had developed. It just took a little effort. Shueisha. In the blink of an eye, the dense shadow lines shrink and return at a speed visible to the naked eye. The dragnet that crisscrossed the entire island disappeared. Oh, feeling something? William raised his eyebrows. A slight smile appeared. Are you coming so soon? The shadow line on the hand that originally shrank and returned surged. Released again. Hateful. How is this going? Damn it, is it Enel's fault? Our bodies are out of control. And this time, the coast of Appiato, the island of gods. One after another, figures dressed like Aboriginal tribesmen, holding guns and other weapons, gathered there in groups of 3 to 5. Surprisingly, they all have small white wings on their backs. However, what is very strange is that each of them is full of panic and their steps are trembling. It's like being forcibly controlled, trying to struggle. But he couldn't resist. Involuntarily, he walked towards the center of the island. Eventually, they came to the ruins of the palace and met William himself. And there was Enel lying there, not knowing whether he was alive or dead. What? Looking at Enel lying there. These Sandia warriors were originally a little panicked and desperate. Everyone couldn't help but widen their eyes and lost their voices in disbelief. That guy Enel was defeated. Isn't that guy's ability invincible? Gula, who is he? A soldier of the Shandia guerrillas. He stared blankly at Enel, who was lying there, not knowing whether he was alive or dead, and William, who was too young. Shocked. Who are you? The young warrior at the head was tall and strong, with a fierce face. He was holding a shield and a spear and was carrying an incendiary cannon. He was staring nervously at the figure in front of him, full of vigilance and even more uncertain. They originally wanted to risk their lives and fight to the island of gods, Appiato, to defeat Enel and his men and to regain their homeland. Unexpectedly, when I rushed over, I found that my body was suddenly under control involuntarily, being manipulated like a puppet on strings. After arriving here, it turned out that their enemy, Enel, had been defeated without knowing it. Is this the Sandia clan? William crossed his legs, sitting on a boulder. Looking at these Sandia warriors, his fingers moved slightly. Swiss. Countless fine shadow lines shrank and returned. These warriors of the Shandia clan regained their freedom one after another. Back to normal. We can take action. This guy, he is just like that Enel. Is he some kind of demon fruit power? Be careful. Don't be careless. Each one was surprised and happy, as if they were surviving a disaster. But at the same time, we are still vigilant and do not dare to be careless. as if facing a formidable enemy. They looked at the young figure in front of them, who gave them unlimited pressure. "Don't be so nervous. I'm not your enemy." William looked relaxed and chuckled. "I'm from King High. Apart from the gold, I don't have much interest in this island. If you want it, I'll give it to you." "What?" A warrior named Shandya clan heard this. They all couldn't help but feel shocked, a little excited, and a little unbelievable. It has been 300 or 400 years, and this can be said to be the closest they have ever been to regaining their homeland. For a moment, he looked at the leader of the guerrilla leader, Wappa, at a loss. Although the other party is young, he is just 17 years old. But he is the descendant of the great warrior Calgera, whom the Sandia clan has believed in and worshipped for generations. He inherited the fighting talent of his ancestors and became the strongest warrior among them at a young age. As the captain of the Sandia clan guerrillas, he is responsible for leading them to fight and regain their homeland that has been lost for hundreds of years. "You really won't compete with us for Appiato?" Frowning, his eyes were fixed on William. Although Wappa is young and impulsive, he is no fool. Naturally, it is clear that the enemy who can defeat God Enel is definitely more powerful than imagined. It would be best if the two sides don't have to become enemies. I said, "Except for gold, I am not interested in this island," William said nonchalantly. "However, Enel cannot be handed over to you. I want to take him to King High." But it didn't take long for these warriors of the Shandya clan to show their joy. He suddenly changed the subject. "Of course, I can't give it to you in vain." Chapter 34, The Deal, Wappa's Allegiance. Let me introduce myself. My name is Obask William, from King High. In ruins, William crossed his arms, looking at these nervous Sandia warriors who were facing a formidable enemy. They talked eloquently. "I know something about the past of your Sandia clan. For hundreds of years, you have been fighting relentlessly to regain your homeland, and you have sacrificed countless blood and tears. You can take away all the gold on this island." Wappa frowned, realized that the enemy is powerful. Look at the other party's unscathed appearance. 9 times out of 10, Enel will be easily eliminated by the other party. Just now, so many of them were easily controlled without even realizing it. Obviously, this mysterious King High powerhouse is far from what he and others can defeat. There is no free lunch in the world, and he is not so naive that the other party can really reason with him and others. All the Sandia clan wants is to return to their homeland, ring the legendary golden bell that has disappeared for hundreds of years, and fulfill the last wish of the great warrior Calgera. As for the gold, even if it is lost, it is not unacceptable to them. As for the rest, looking directly at William, Wappa said in a deep voice, "I'm sorry. I'm afraid our Shandya clan has nothing to give you." It's not that he doesn't want to give something, but the Shandya clan is very poor. They have been fighting endless battles with the residents of Angel Island for many years. Their living space has been continuously squeezed, and the people's livelihood is difficult. I think I really have nothing to exchange with the other party. No, although there is nothing worthy of my respect in the Shandya clan, you are an exception. William shook his head and pointed at Wappa himself. He still admired this warrior of the Sandia clan. He is a real tough guy with an unyielding will of steel. And the advantage is that he is young and has great potential, worth cultivating. Wappa was stunned. Even the warriors of the Sandia clan were a little stunned. I never expected that the other party would say that. "You are a good warrior. How about following me to King High and serving for me?" William stood up. Looking at the somewhat surprised Wappa, he smiled and said, "In exchange, not only can I return this island to you, so that you, the Sandia clan, can fulfill your centuries-old wish and return to your homeland, I can also help you get rid of the enemies on Angel Island." What? Hear the words. It's not just Wappa himself. The other Sandia warriors couldn't help but shrink their eyes and looked at William in disbelief. Wappa, one after another, the guerrilla fighters looked at Wappa, somewhat at a loss. I never expected that the opponent's target turned out to be the descendants of the great warrior Calgera. Want Wappa to work for him? You don't naively think that, without Enel's restriction, the natives of Angel Island will watch you, Sandia clan, occupy Appiato, right? William came to Wappa and others. There's no need to worry about whether these Sandia warriors will suddenly attack him. I know that you are brave and good at fighting and have a strong will. In order to regain your homeland, you are willing to risk your lives and are not afraid of any danger. But even if you can defend this island, how many people will be sacrificed and how much blood will be shed? But for me, it's just something that can be solved easily. He patted Wappa on the shoulder and asked with a chuckle, "How about it? Think about it. Don't think about it. I promise you." Hearing this, without any hesitation, Wappa looked directly at William and said with a decisive tone, "As long as you can return Appiato to our Sandia clan and get rid of those enemies, I am willing to work for you." Although he is stubborn, he is not a fool. Naturally, it would be clear without William's intervention. The Sandia clan wants to take back their homeland. What kind of price will they have to pay? If just by sacrificing him, we can peacefully return to our homeland, so that the people no longer have to be displaced and can truly recuperate. What does this mean? What's more, the other party just asked him to work for them. Wappa, for a while. The warriors of the Sandia clan present. They all looked at Wappa in shock. They never expected that the other party would be so decisive and agreed to the other party's proposal. No need to say more. This is my own decision. Wappa waved his hand. With a stern look on his face, he said in a deep voice to his companions in the Sandia guerrillas, "I just followed Mr. William to King High, and it's not an unacceptable harsh condition. If he really wants to do something, we people today, I'm afraid, no one will be able to go back alive. If you can use me alone to reduce the sacrifices of the people, there is no better result than this." He saw clearly. This man, who was similar to him in age, but whose strength was unfathomable and unbelievably strong, really had no intention of targeting them. With the goal of the Sandia clan, there is no conflict. It's refreshing enough. Seeing Wappa being so straightforward, William patted him on the shoulder and couldn't help laughing with satisfaction. "I believe you won't regret your choice today. Then I declare, this island belongs to your Sandia clan." "Gulu, is this real?" Hear William say this. These Sandia warriors were all stunned. It's like being in a dream, but it feels a little unreal. Did they so easily complete the mission that the ancestors of the Sandia clan had fought tenaciously for hundreds of years, paid countless blood and tears, and fought with perseverance? Oh, very good. Come to your senses. Everyone could not help crying with joy and was full of excitement. After many years, the long-occupied island of gods, Appiato, once again belongs to the Sandia clan. Finally, they no longer have to be displaced and can return to their hometown. Their descendants can also live on this island for generations to come, living and working in peace and contentment. Lord William, I'm so grateful. Meeting William didn't seem like a fake. Wappa's eyes were red, and he knelt on one knee. Putting his right fist against his heart, he swore loudly, "I will devote my loyalty to the glory of the great warrior Calgera and never betray him." Chapter 35 Golden Bell, Sniper. Dang. Half an hour later, the top of a huge vine. The warriors of the Sandia clan stared blankly at the huge Golden Bell tower in front of them. Some indescribable shock, but more of an excitement. And on top of the magnificent bell tower, Wappa is pushing the bell with all his strength, ringing the golden bell that has been silent for a long time. The bells resounded through the sky, crisp and sweet. It seems to be able to cleanse one's soul. Makes people forget all their troubles and sorrows. Very good. Is this the golden bell passed down from generation to generation by the Sandia family? We finally fulfilled the last wish of the great warrior Calgera, lit the lamp of Zandia, and rang the golden bell. A famous Zandian warrior, full of joy, excited. "Thank you very much, Lord William." Knocked a dozen times in a row, with excitement on his face, Wappa let go of Zhong Chu. He came to William and bowed deeply to him, full of gratitude. "Thank you for helping us, the Sandia clan, ring the golden bell again and fulfill the agreement between our ancestors, the great warrior Calgera, and Noland. Since we are all our own people, it doesn't matter if you fulfill your wishes." He glanced at the solid and immortal historical stone inlaid on the golden bell tower. William crossed his arms and said directly, "But let's talk first. Although the golden bell is ringing, I can't leave this bell tower to you. this golden bell tower. He was not prepared to leave it to the Sandia family. Instead, he was to take it to King Hai and put it on the ship of terror to serve as a window decoration. It's natural. You can take all the gold away. As for the golden clock, for the Sandia clan, although this golden bell is of great significance. But after all, William is the great benefactor of the Sandia family. They were very satisfied to be able to return to their homeland so easily without having to shed any more blood or sacrifices. Even if he is allowed to take away the golden bell, it is still appropriate. Anyway, the bell rang again, and the golden bell had completed its mission. Over at Angel Island, don't be impatient, William said directly. You settle down your own people first. He planned to go to King Hai first and bring up Perona, Brook, Habagu, and others, along with Seastone handcuffs. Enel had been tied up by him and soaked in a water tank. Only his head was exposed, and several soldiers of the Sandia clan were responsible for watching. Even the user with Logia's ability is exhausted. It was impossible to escape. Yes, Wappa nodded. He has William's back. He wasn't worried about Angel Island. Woo! A pair of cool black shadow wings appeared on his back, and William flapped his wings. In the awed eyes of the Sandio warriors, it flapped its wings and flew into the distance. Now, King Hai 10,000 meters below. Gaia Island, Magic Valley Town. Some buildings became dilapidated, filled with smoke and the smell of blood. Obviously, they had just experienced a fierce war. One after another, embarrassed figures were detained by zombie soldiers and sent to the Ship of Terror. These are all captured pirates. Perona's spirit body is floating in the air. Looking at the somewhat embarrassed Brook and others, they put their hands on their hips and said dissatisfiedly, "Your movements are too slow. Hey, don't stand and talk without your back hurting, Perona." Dr. Habagu, who was in ragged clothes and with a bit of bloodline, was breathing heavily and responded unhappily. "Do you think we are all like you, with the ability to have ghost fruits?" Under William's instructions, it's not just the zombie army led by #1 zombie General Wang Luan that goes into battle. These cadres also participated in the battle. Sharpen yourself. Ho ho ho. I have to say, the ability of the ghost fruit is indeed too powerful. Brook, holding a staff and sword on the side, was filled with emotion. After Perona's spirit body left her body, the main body hides in the castle, while the spirit body can ignore damage. In particular, those negative ghosts can easily subdue those pirates. Such an ability is too incomprehensible. Bang! Accompanied by heavy footsteps, several bloody figures. He was thrown over by the zombie General Wang Luan, who was wearing golden armor and holding a big sword. Covered in blood, he didn't know whether he was alive or dead. "Hey, Wang Luan, you won't kill them all, right?" Perona's eyes widened, and she said loudly, "That adult has to live. Otherwise, why would he need so much effort? I have no choice but to encounter a few tough guys, so I have to be more aggressive." His long beard swung. Wang Lun grinned there, showing his sinister teeth, and said with a strange smile, "They are indeed some extraordinary guys." Hogbaga stepped forward. After checking the injuries of several people, they dealt with them briefly. At the same time, he flipped through the bounty manual and confirmed the identities of the 3 pirates. Hiss, the Ocelot Callet with a bounty of 83 million belly, and the pirate with a bounty of 55 million belly, Iron Hand Haas. Conspirator Buck with a bounty of 22 million Baileys. We caught 7 pirates with a bounty of more than 10 million, and the highest bounty was over 80 million. The harvest is not small. Now I don't have to worry about the material to resurrect more zombie generals. Oh ho ho ho. I'm so looking forward to that. Suddenly, Brook's hair stood on end as he was laughing. He subconsciously dodged, but in the end it was a step too late. Bang! White bones spattered, and his skull was shot directly through by a bullet that broke through the air. The other 2 empty projectiles hit the wall behind with unabated force. It left shocking bullet holes. What? Brook, Master Brook, Perona, Habagu, and the others, as well as the zombie soldiers around them. All of them couldn't help but change their expressions and immediately became vigilant. And the zombie General Wang Luan, with his tall body, he blocked directly in front of them. Brush, deep in the forest in the distance. A black figure flashed past. Over there, that damn guy. Perona was frightened, annoyed, and murderous. Relying on the invincible spiritual state, he flew directly over. Damn, it was a sniper. Brook, who was lying there, staggered to his feet and covered his skull that was shot through. It was such a close call, I almost got killed. If it weren't for him, the underworld fruit user, he would be dead, with only a skeleton left. I'm afraid he was really going to be killed because of his carelessness. What is the structure of your body? When Habagu saw this, he bared his teeth and complained. At the same time, he was a little nervous and alert. He quickly stepped forward and placed his right hand on the broken skull. The ability of Paramecia, Repair Fruit, is activated. Brush. A faint blue light flashed. Brook's skull, which was shot through, returned to its original shape. In mint condition, in the forest. Perona missed. After arriving in the forest, the figure hiding in the dark had already escaped. Can you escape? Negative ghost. She did not hesitate and opened her hands. A large number of negative ghosts continued to fly out of the palms and formed a row. Search for me. Order them to search everywhere. After all, the guy who was attacking in secret was blocked. Bang, bang. In the jungle, gunfire rang out. Bullets passed through the ghost one after another. The young man wearing a strange hat, a black cloak, and a sniper scope on his right, I was full of shock. The attack is ineffective? Subconsciously, he was about to retreat, but it was already too late. A jelly-like ghost flew directly over, passed through his body. What? His whole face turned purple instantly. Kneeling there, extremely depressed. I want to be a salted fish. Hey. I didn't expect that there was another fish that slipped through the net. Perona floated over and looked down at the sniper, who was easily subdued by the negative ghost. But you are so arrogant. If you don't hide properly, you still dare to provoke us like this. Chapter 36, Inoue Fan Oka, William's recruitment. Is this the guy who attacked me? Not long after, looking at the sniper, who almost killed him before and was captured, Brook was surprised. Yes, sir. Lord William is back. Perona is floating in the air, but just as he was about to say something, he caught a glimpse of the distant sky from the corner of his eye, and a black shadow was flying down. Suddenly, everyone screamed in surprise. What? Come back so soon? Huobugu and Brook couldn't help but be overjoyed. Well, the battle is quite fierce. William is very fast. He soon landed on the terrifying ship and had a panoramic view of the smoke-filled and messy Demon Valley town. A pair of dark shadow wings shrank like silk and disappeared. Looking at Fan Oka being escorted over. Some were surprised, recognized each other. A sniper from East Blue and a future member of the Blackbeard Pirates. Tatsu Van Oka. Lord William, you are back. TSK, what does Sky Island look like? Perona, Brook, and Habaguba all came forward. Can't wait to ask there. William waved his hand and did not rush to respond to the questions raised by Perona and others. Arriving in front of Van Oka, who was tied up and being escorted by zombie soldiers, he asked with a chuckle, "You are East Blue's famous bounty hunter, Otatsu Van Oka, right?" Sir William, do you know him?" The three people in Perona were full of surprise. Unexpectedly, William actually knew the name of this sniper. "I'm really honored to be known by such a big shot like you." Van Oka took a deep breath. Looking at William's excessively young figure, he laughed at himself. What a miscalculation. I didn't expect a big shot like you to show up here. He had noticed it from afar before. A strong man left the terrifying ship and flew towards the sky. At first, he thought it was the 7 warlords of the sea Gekko Moria who had left. Overconfidence, overestimating oneself, thinking that one can escape unscathed after a cold shot. Only then took the risk to sneak attack Brook. It's just that Van Oka really didn't expect it. The departing figure turned out to be the Black Prison William Obask, who had caused a scene in Eni's lobby 3 months ago, betrayed the world government, and was offered a bounty of 200 million belly. "It seems that you also know me," William chuckled. "Then I won't beat around the bush." He did not hide his appearance, so it was not surprising that he was recognized by Van Oka. After all, no matter what, he is still a big pirate with a bounty of 200 million belly. And it's only been a few months since the big scene at Eni's lobby. It can be said that it is in full swing. You have two choices. One is to become a prisoner of the hell pirates like them, imprisoned in a dark dungeon, suffering day and night, waiting for death. Looking at the somewhat embarrassed Van Oka, William said bluntly. Another one, join us. Our hell pirates also need an excellent sniper, although the current strength is still a bit weak. But after all, it is a seed with potential, and there is still a lot of room for growth in the future. He doesn't mind recruiting. Lord William. Hearing what William said, Perona was surprised. Are you going to recruit this guy? Oh ho ho ho, if nothing else, this guy's shooting skills are really good. If I hadn't only had a handful of bones left, he would have almost killed me. Brooke said with a smile. Hiss, are you going to add another member? Dr. Hagaba laughed strangely. He believed in this adult's vision. And I have to admit that the opponent's marksmanship is indeed very powerful. It really shocked him into a cold sweat. Fortunately, I picked the wrong target. Hell pirates? Wait, I'm a little confused. Doesn't this ship belong to Gekko Moria? Fan Oka looked at Obask William, who was recruiting him in front of him, a little surprised, and said in a deep voice, You must have joined his command, right? He once collected some information. It becomes clear that the owners of the terror ship are the 7 warlords of the sea Gekko Moria. But judging from William's previous tone, as well as the attitudes of Perona, Brooke, and others, it seems that the other party is the owner of this ship. This made Van Oka a little confused. Are you talking about him? William raised his eyebrows. The shadow under his feet stood up directly. In Fan Oka's shocked eyes, it suddenly swelled. At a speed visible to the naked eye, it transformed into a bloated and tall figure. Is this Gekko Moria? Fan Oka's pupils shrank sharply, apparently recognizing the famous 7 warlords of the sea. I'm sorry, just over 2 months ago, Gekko Moria was killed by Sir William, and even the fruit ability was obtained by him. Dr. Hagaba on the side introduced with a strange smile. Now, the owner of this terrifying ship is Lord William. Hearing Hagaba say this, Van Oka couldn't help but gasp. The dignified 7 warlords of the sea were killed so quietly, and even the fruit ability was obtained by Black Prison William. It's incredible. He. It's your honor to be favored by Lord William. Don't be ungrateful, you guy. Perona, who was floating in the air, put her hands on her hips and looked down at Fan Oka, although she didn't think there was anything special about the other party. But since it is this adult's decision, I naturally fully support it. He's just a sniper with little strength, and he's still a prisoner. It is really the other party's luck to be able to follow Lord William. Do you have any other questions? William asked with a smile. The shadow mage who transformed into Moria shrank directly and turned into a shadow again. Although it's an imperfect start, I believe it's destiny. Not much hesitation. Looking at William with burning eyes, Fan Oka said directly there, Please give me more advice, Sir William. At such a young age, he killed a long-established strong man like Gekko Moria and even replaced him. Such a young and strong person can be said to have unlimited potential in the future. He is a prisoner at the mercy of others. There is no reason to refuse to follow. Welcome to join. I believe you won't regret it. William chuckled, signaling the zombie soldiers to release Van Oka. This is how he likes to know the current affairs. Chapter 37. The truth about Golden Land, the dull people, wow. Is this Sky Island? So amazing, less than half an hour. Thousands of meters high in the sky. The large raptor, transformed by the ability of shadow fruit to manipulate shadows, fluttered its wings there. Straight through the sea of clouds, it was hit by continuous sea currents that surged into the sky in the past, and it still remains a large hole that penetrates to this day. With Perona, Brooke, Habagu, and the newly joined sniper, Inyuvan Oka, and others, they came to the White Sea at an altitude of 7,000 meters. The vast sea of clouds shocked them. No, this is just the White Sea. The Real Sky Island is still on the higher White Sea. William controlled the giant bird made of shadows and continued to spread its wings into the distance. Before coming down, he had already asked the warriors of the Sandia clan, know the location of the Gate of Heaven. Soon we crossed the vast white sea and followed the crisscrossing cloud paths, arriving at the huge gate of heaven. Wait, you guys! Looking at the giant black bird flapping its wings and the figures above. Obasin, who had a pair of white wings on his back and was full of shock, was about to say something. Buzz! But he didn't wait for her to finish. The next moment, William's eyes suddenly froze. Noisy. Plop. She rolled her eyes, foamed at the mouth, and fainted. This is Van Oka was astonished. As a newcomer, he has just entered the Grand Line not long ago. Naturally never heard of Conqueror's Hockey. Yo ho ho ho. This is Conqueror's Hockey. It is said that not even one person in a million has the qualifications to be a king. Brooke on the side did not hate Van Oka because he almost killed him before. Instead, he introduced him. This is Sir William's innate power. You don't need to take action. Just rely on your own courage to intimidate, shock, and stun the enemy. Hiss, hiss, hiss. Even a warrior who has experienced hundreds of battles and is determined cannot withstand the impact of conquerors and will lose consciousness in an instant. Dr. Hagbagu added, if the strength is not strong enough, let alone one person, even an army of thousands of people will be easily stunned by Sir William. Hiss. Conqueror's Hockey. Hear the words. Van Oka couldn't help but gasp. Looking at William's young figure, his eyes were full of burning passion, and he smiled. It seems that I really made an extremely correct choice. Of course, Perona was filled with pride. Okay, hold on tight, don't fall. William crossed his arms and was there to remind him. Wow, is this Sky Island? It's just like a fairy tale. Beautiful. Not long after, Perona, Brooke, Van Oka, and Hagbagugu were completely shocked. I stared blankly ahead at the breathtakingly beautiful island of gods, Appiato, nestled in the sea of clouds, lined with green trees and shrouded in mist. Some are speechless. This is the island of gods, Appiato. Strictly speaking, it is not the real Sky Island. The Real Sky Island is made up of island clouds. William did not show any concern and directly introduced them to them. Its true origin is actually the other half of Gaia Island. What? The other half of Gaia Island? How can this be? Are you kidding? Sir William. Hear William say this. Perona, Brooke, and Hagbagu were all a little shocked. Some couldn't believe it. It was not like they had never seen Gaia Island thousands of meters above the ground. Those plants alone are many times bigger than the ones below, right? This island was washed up from King High by an unprecedented giant sea current about 400 years ago. William shrugged. He briefly introduced them to them. As for the vegetation and animals, the reason why there have been such big changes is because of the unique climate and environment of Sky Island. The legendary Golden Land is real, but washed up on Sky Island, turning the adventurer Noland into a well-known liar. This, incredible. TSK, I can't believe it. Does the legendary Golden Land really exist? That's great. Perona and others were stunned, shocked beyond words. If it wasn't clear, William couldn't have lied, and they couldn't believe it. At the same time, there was so much excitement and so much excitement. There's someone on the island. Are these the aborigines of Sky Island? Are those little wings on their backs decorations, or real wings, soon? William took them directly. Arrival at the island of the gods, Appiato, and a large number of members of the Shandya clan have begun to gather there, full of excitement. There they sang, danced, and cried with joy. Upon discovering the arrival of the giant blackbird, many people were subconsciously wary. But the warriors of the Shandya clan all recognized William, the leader above, so they did not cause much panic. But they were all full of curiosity, looking at William, Perona, and others. Lord William. Wappa came forward. There he pointed to the old man beside him and introduced William. This is the patriarch of our Shandya clan. Hello, Sir William from King High. I am the leader of the Shandya clan. The old chief of the Shandya clan leaned on crutches and bowed there. Thank you very much for your help, allowing us to return to our homeland after 400 years of absence, and also rang the golden bell to complete the battle between the great warrior Calgera and Nolan's last wish. He did not expect something. This time Wappa led the guerrillas on an expedition but something like this happened. But this is obviously a good thing. The Sandia family finally fulfilled their long-cherished wish and returned to their homeland. You're welcome. I just fancy Wappa's potential and want him to follow me, William said with a smile. No. It is Wappa's honor to be appreciated by you, the old chief of the Shandia clan said directly. It is really incredible that this King Hai strongman, who is similar in age to Wappa, has such great power. Wappa followed such a figure to King Hai. Maybe not a bad thing. Mr. William, you and your companions have come from afar. Please let us, the Shandia family, entertain you. That would be disrespectful. Goodwill towards the Sandia clan. William did not refuse and agreed to the banquet invitation with a smile. Perona and others were full of excitement and couldn't wait to explore the island to find the legendary gold. By the way, Sir William, that guy has woken up and has been shouting and cursing. Wappa remembered something and asked directly, "Do you want to see him?" "Of course, I brought this thing here specially to entertain him." William chuckled. He directly took out the sea stone handcuffs from his waist. Before that Guyanal gave in completely, he is not ready to let the other party go. Chapter 38 Massive Gold. Wappa is targeted 3 days passed by in a hurry. Under the warm hospitality of the Sandia family. On the island of gods, Appiato, a bonfire banquet was held for 3 consecutive days and nights. During this period, William took Wappa and others directly to Angel Island and started a killing spree. Over at Angel Island, the white berets who were usually responsible for managing public security were directly slaughtered. It severely shocked the natives of Angel Island who, after hearing that Enel was defeated, began to make plans to invite the expelled former God-Gone 4 back and clamored to take back the Island of God, Appiato. In the end, he was persuaded by his predecessor, God-Gone 4. The Sandia clan and Angel Island reached a peace agreement, although this was taken due to William's overwhelming power. But it has to be said, sometimes such force to shock is still very useful. As for whether the two parties could truly coexist peacefully for a long time, William didn't bother to care. At the very least, he could guarantee that he would be alive. Angel Island will never dare to act rashly again. Wow now. Island of Gods Appiato, in front of a huge cave. Perona, Brook, Habaguv, and Oka. His eyes widened, and he looked at the exaggerated pile of gold treasures in front of him like a mountain. Among them, the Golden Bell Tower was transported down from the vines. Even if I have seen it more than once, still can't help but feel a little deeply shocked. Awesome getting rich. Perona laid down on the mountain of real gold. He squinted his crescent eyes and showed an extremely satisfied smile. Gulu, it feels like a dream. Even Brook, the musician who was reduced to a skeleton, couldn't help but breathe quickly, and his eyes gleamed. It's not that they are money-crazed. It's just that these golds are too exaggerated. I'm afraid I can easily buy a country. Fisk, TSK, this is the first time I've seen so much gold. Fan Oka took a deep breath and couldn't help but sigh. I really can't calm down. They couldn't help but be excited. These days, all the gold on Sky Island, in addition to the gold that has been collected by the gods of Sky Island in the past, as well as Enel and others. Other ancient ruins buried in the white clouds that cannot be easily discovered, as well as the scattered gold jewelry inside. William easily found them all with the power of the shadow fruit. Gathered here, it's not just this gold. William sat on the steps of the huge golden clock tower and said with a chuckle, Enel tried to use this gold to build an ark that could fly, and collected a large number of extinct wind-breathing shells, all of which are also real treasures. Especially with the design drawings of the ark. We can also hire a shipwright to build a flying warship. Not ready to abandon the ship of terror, though. But William also planned to build a large warship capable of direct flight. Moreover, although gold has excellent electrical conductivity, except for some special necessary devices, there is no need to use so much gold in shipbuilding materials. Other conductive materials can also be substituted. Lord William, is it a ship powered by electricity? Van Oka asked there. That guy won't agree to join us easily, right? Of course, they have all seen the god, imprisoned by William. The opponent turned out to be a user with a rare Logia Thunderfruit ability, which really surprised them. But even if he is reduced to a prisoner, he still has that arrogant attitude. It still left Fan Oka, Perona, and others speechless. Don't worry, he will give in. William shrugged. If Enel is really unwilling to give in, he doesn't mind trying to figure out if he can find the Logia dark fruit. Separate Logia thunder fruit's ability from the opponent. However, William currently has a bold idea, but without verification, he was not sure whether it could succeed. Lord William, it's been 3 days. Perona grabbed a gold crown, put on her head, and asked, "Are we leaving here?" 3 days at Sky Island. She has almost visited this island and Angel Island, mainly because of the hatred, awe, and fear in the eyes of the native people on Angel Island. She found it really boring. I just bought some Sky Island specialties and various shellfish. Well, the things promised to Wappa have been completed. The gold has almost been collected, and the rare shellfish have also been collected one by one. William smiled and nodded. It's almost time to leave. I am also ready and can leave with Sir William at any time. At this time, Wappa, with a strong breath, came over. Crossing his arms, he said in a deep voice, "Speaking of which, I'm also very curious about what King Hai is like. Then just leave this afternoon." William nodded. Just in time, he was ready to make his next plan. Wapple, the king of the Drum Kingdom with the ability of Paramecia Munch Munch Fruit. William was not prepared to let it go, even if Munch Munch Fruit's ability was not as powerful as expected. It can easily synthesize morphological memory alloys and other rare precious metals from a variety of metals it swallows. Capturing him as a tool man and opening a rare metal export company can make the Hell Pirates make a lot of money, coupled with the massive gold obtained on Sky Island. Even if there was an accident at the Golden Emperor's place, the Hell Pirates no longer need to worry about the funds needed for development in a short period of time. "Hey, Sir William, I have a question." Brooke asked curiously. "How can we take so much gold with us?" Hearing this, Fan Oka, Perona, Habagu, and others couldn't help but look over. "If you can't take this much gold with you, even if it can be temporarily stored on Sky Island, it's also a bit regrettable." Simple. William raised his right hand slightly. One after another, subtle and tough shadow lines are visible to the naked eye, emerging from the 5 fingers, dancing there. Use the shadow threads to interweave them into a network, trap them, and hang them directly from the sea of clouds. String fruit can easily simulate most of the methods with the ability of the shadow fruit. The weight of this gold is not light, and it is bound to sink directly to the sea bottom and pass through the thick sea of clouds. He just needs to be hung with a lot of shadow lines. It's just a little bit laborious. Chapter 39, The Expanding Team, Silver Axe and John Lord William. Hiss, those are all. Gold? Does the legendary Golden Land really exist? Golu, this is too much. On a huge ship of terror, watching the gleaming gold being trapped in a large net intertwined with massive black threads and being lowered from the sky one after another. The large number of zombie soldiers, as well as the zombie generals, couldn't help but be filled with shock. Some couldn't believe their eyes, staring blankly at the huge amount of gold. It is worth mentioning that there are currently more than 500 zombies on the ship of terror, and they are commanded by 9 zombie generals, before taking Perona and others to Sky Island, in order to prevent someone from invading the terrifying ship that he regarded as his home base. William deliberately plundered the captured pirate shadows and once again created 8 zombie generals to use as combat power. Every zombie general is at least capable of confronting or even crushing pirates with bounties worth over 100 million, especially the number 2 zombie General John and the number 3 zombie General Silver Axe. These 2 were notorious pirates in their lifetime and once belonged to the Rocks Pirate. His strength is not inferior to that of Zombie General Number 1, Wang Lun. However, the Demon Oz, whom he regarded as a special zombie, and the corpse of the swordsman Ryoma, William still has it. There was no rush to resurrect them. When the huge Golden Bell Tower, he landed firmly on the vast training field. It is splendid and full of historical atmosphere, which is shocking. Move all this gold to the castle. William was there giving orders. Instruct Wang Lun, John, and other zombie generals to move the mountains of dazzling gold into the castle and stored away. The castle Moria built during her lifetime was huge enough. The treasure trove should barely fit inside. Brush. The explanation was completed. William has already passed the shadow line connecting Sky Island. He directly activated instant shadow and disappeared from the sight of these zombies, because it still takes some time to bring Perona and others down. Almost 2 hours later, in the surprised eyes of those zombie legions, a huge black raptor carrying Wappa, Perona, Brook, Van Oka, Habagu, and others arrived on the ship of terror. Lord William, is this your ship? Wappa was in a daze. Eyes widened. He looked at this ridiculously large and jaw-dropping pirate ship in shock. The land they had fought so hard for on Sky Island was not worth mentioning. Don't be so surprised, William shrugged. In King High, the sea is dotted with countless islands, large and small, and this ship was transformed from an island. Although he did not build the terror ship, it has now become his trophy. Incredible, Wappa exclaimed. Brook patted his shoulder and said with a friendly smile, "Hey, it's your first time in King High. You'll get used to it." Hiss, it's so majestic. Dr. Habagu looked at the glittering Golden Bell Tower, full of excitement. Really, Van Oka nodded. No matter how many times I've seen it, whenever I see this Golden Bell Tower, I can't help but be a little shocked. After all, it is too big. Humph, is this King High? Look around. Enel, whose hands were bound by sea-stone handcuffs and was a prisoner, looked arrogant. There's nothing too conspicuous about it, still so unruly. There was absolutely no intention of giving in. Even if he was crushed by William, he was still very unconvinced in his heart. I thought I was careless. Perona, Brook, Van Oka, and others all ignored Enel. In the past few days, I've been treating this guy with a bad temper and a tough temper. I have long been used to it. Even William was too lazy to pay attention to this guy. Although I have repeatedly popularized science for Enel, I hope he will stop looking at the sky from a well. But the arrogant guy still refused to bow his head. Lord William, 3 zombie generals, Wanglin, John, and Silver Axe, came over. Are there any blind people these days? William asked directly. Yes, but don't worry, we have solved them all. The 3 great zombie generals, the confident Cade. That's good. William nodded with satisfaction. Although these zombie generals have limited potential and have some flaws and weaknesses, for a truly strong person, it is completely worth mentioning. But if we compare it to the teams under the Pirate Emperor in New World, act as a combat force at the level of ordinary cadres. Still useful. Sir William, our actions on Gaia Island were reported by the World Economic News. A zombie soldier steps forward. Give the newspapers from the past 3 days to William. Oh, William raised his eyebrows. But it's not surprising. After all, the Hell Pirates' actions this time can be said to be a grand one. However, the World Economic News only reported that Gekko Moria suddenly led the Hell Pirates to attack Demon Valley Town and captured a large number of pirates. There are no other detailed reports. Chapter 40, The Kidnapped King. The poker pirates in the blink of an eye. A week passed like this. The ship of terror set sail again according to the original plan and continued to move forward. In addition to developing fruit abilities, William exercises physical skills and practices swordsmanship. It is to guide the practice of Wappa, Perona, Brook, Van Oka, Habagu, and others. What makes it more satisfied is that Perona and Brook have made rapid progress and have mastered the 6 types of shaving. The reason why Brook came from behind is not only because of his own strength, but also because he only has a handful of bones left and his body weight is relatively light. So practicing shaving can be said to be twice the result with half the effort. But Wappa showed his tenacious while during his hard training. Let Perona, Brook, and others marvel. Lord William, this is the permanent record pointer of the Drum Kingdom. This day at noon, when William and others finished their training and began to enjoy their meals, a zombie soldier respectfully handed over a record pointer. Lord William, aren't we going directly to Prehistoric Island? Habagu was filled with surprise. According to William's plan, they will next go to Prehistoric Island, Little Garden, and then to Bucklow Island, located at the entrance of the Grand Line, to retrieve the treasure in the treasure map. Then, fulfill Brook's wish and head to Twin Point, the entrance to the Grand Line. Well, the course remains unchanged, but I may have to leave in the next 2 days. After swallowing a piece of bone-in meat, William said nonchalantly. Next, he's going to visit the Drum Kingdom. Capture Drum King Wapol, who is Paramecia Munch Munch Fruit's ability user. After all, if you don't have such an ability in hand, it would be a waste of money to let that guy waste Munch Munch Fruit's ability. But considering that the Drum Kingdom is, after all, one of the countries that joins the world government, now he still needs to wear the cloak of 7 warlords of the sea, but it is difficult to attack directly. Otherwise, you will definitely anger the world government. In order to appease other world government member countries, the world government will definitely directly remove Gekko Moria from the 7 warlords of the sea and even send marines to attack it. Therefore, there is no need to make such a big fanfare. It is the best policy to seize the person quietly to avoid attracting suspicion and attention from the outside world. Sir William, do you want to leave alone? Perona was surprised. Well, we'll set off in a moment. After swallowing a piece of pizza, William ordered, You just stay on the boat and continue on your way. I will meet you again then. Whoa, not long after, under the watch of Wappa, Perona, Brooke, and others. After finishing his meal, William didn't waste any more time. He took some dry food and the permanent record pointer of the Drum Kingdom and flew directly towards the distant sky. The next day, at dusk, follow the guidance of the record pointer. William, who was tired of his travels, came to the Drum Kingdom. It's really a bit cold. Looking at this winter island covered in ice and snow, with the dark devil's shadow wings on his back, William chuckled from high in the sky. The royal castle is located on the snowy peak. It looks like an iron bucket standing there, which is very eye-catching. After William finished his dinner in the deserted wilderness, it was already evening. In the dark night, he easily sneaked into the castle where the royal family was. It didn't take much effort to find out the location of King Wapol. Buzz! An invisible wave spread suddenly. One of the guards foamed at the mouth, lost consciousness, and fell down, including Wapol himself, who was bloated and was sleeping soundly. He directly used the prepared sea stone handcuffs to cuff the unconscious Wapol. William took him directly and left the Drum Kingdom quietly. No, King Wapol has been kidnapped. The next day, early in the morning, the news that King Wapol had been kidnapped spread directly throughout the Drum Kingdom, causing a huge sensation. However, countless people in the Drum Kingdom sang and danced and played their crowns to celebrate. Many people cried with joy and prayed that Wapol would never come back. This shows how unpopular this king is. However, this has nothing to do with William. At this time, an uninhabited island, William took the kidnapped Wapol with him and briefly rested there. Who are you? Wapol, who was bloated and ugly, was full of fear and panic, struggling desperately. However, it is bound up by the dark shadow lines. Couldn't move at all. Moreover, his hands were handcuffed to sea stone. In the past, with the blessing of the Munch Munch fruit ability, the teeth that could not only be opened extremely wide, but could easily crush steel were ineffective. I am the king of a country that has joined the world government. If you know what I am doing, let me go quickly. The world government will not let you go, he said loudly and with a stern voice. Shut up. William, who was eating a piece of beef jerky there, glanced at him. The ability of a shadow fruit was activated, and a black substance condensed on his hand, and he flicked it casually. Woo! Woo! The black substance was like tape, sealing Wapol's mouth firmly. He couldn't speak anymore. Suddenly, William's eyes narrowed, looking at the sea in the distance. A black spot grew bigger and bigger, and it turned out to be a ship. And it's also a pirate ship. Pirate ship. He took out a manual and flipped through it. After comparing the increasingly clear pirate flags above, he quickly found the relevant information. William raised his eyebrows. The poker pirates? Captain the Big Bear King, with a bounty of 11.6 million Baileys? Or is it Paramecia, the one with the steel fruit ability? The bounty is low though, but as a user with the ability of the iron fruit, his strength is obviously more than that. Looking at the struggling Wapol, William smiled. Just right, you can give it a try. Chapter 41, A Bold Attempt, Recycling Ability. Captain, there seems to be someone on the island. On the sea, on the pirate ship that was approaching slowly. A lookout was there using a monocular telescope to observe the island ahead. He reported loudly to the tall, rough-looking Big Bear King, wearing a cloak below. "Ah, I've been almost bored these days. Finally, there's some fun." The Big Bear King got interested. He took the monocular telescope and noticed two figures on the coast on the island in the distance. He couldn't help but grin and said, "Push the cannon up, fire directly at Lousy, and bomb them." "Yeah."
No more novels? Take part in the voting. The most requested novels and those with the most likes will be chosen for publication on euroaudiobooks.com. There, I can upload as much as I want without the risk of receiving a strike. Our 18 novels and other content that exceed what is morally acceptable are only published on Patreon or the free novels page. Remember, the site is funded by donations on Ko-fi and Patreon memberships.